Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name's John Fahey, your host. Joining me, as ever, prettiest boy under the sun, Spunk Drunk Junkie,
Sun Smooch Gooch,
Gay Blade.
Gay Blade?
Yeah. Blade,
The black vampire?
but gay. That's you. Gay Blade. 2.
Well, obviously too.
Gay
Daywalker. You a daywalker.
You a gay walker.
He's a gay walker. That's very
pretty
nice.
cool.
Prances.
That's right.
Aaron Joseph
In the
Peter.
daylight.
How are you?
Well, I am the Marquise
Yes.
Desaad.
Yes, you
and
are.
my sinners
You're
here.
a thinker, you're a stinker, you're a pee-pee drinker.
And I'm not going to
Someone's got
apologize for it, although I do stand accused of Drinko's pee-pee.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Guilty as
Yeah,
charged.
you do.
Matt, now you're here to my right, and
Matt
Does-
Brousseau, the Frenchman henchman.
Hi.
doesn't John look exactly like the cartoons of him right now?
He does, yeah.
Right now,
Why?
you look exactly like Dallas's drawings.
I don't have a fucking mustache.
You've got enough of a mustache.
You kind of do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
hair's like perfect.
yeah, it's
Perfect Dallas.
Yeah,
I think
Buyers Club.
it's getting to like a Edward Furlongy kind of level, I think,
No.
in length.
Oh, in length, perhaps, but you know, you just got a nice tussle to it.
Follow us on YouTube if you want to see how great I look. I got that hot, washed up on shore look right now with this T-shirt.
Yeah,
I'm never letting go
It
of.
really looks great in the profile. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can really see the rips.
You can really
the
see how
armpit.
fucked up it is.
Yeah. And that's a new shirt.
No, my friend Joe made me this shirt, and I think it was
He just made.
Oh shit,
thrift-
Bauhaus.
a thrift store shirt. Yeah.
I didn't even when I said that today. I didn't.
We were talking about the Ziggy Stardust cover by Bauhaus.
Excuse me.
And how it's superior. Right before this. So yeah, follow us, hit the fucking bell, whatever that does on YouTube. Really, subscribe. It helps us out. Do it.
Yeah.
And shout out to the people that only watch on YouTube. That's a whole
That's a whole thing.
that's a whole sub scene.
Yeah. What do you think that is?
I don't know, I guess it's hot.
I think people just there's some people that take in everything through YouTube. It is kind of a catch-all.
Yeah.
So it's like how you treat your butthole.
Absolutely.
You take in everything through there.
Indiscriminate swallowing.
So the YouTube is like the John Fahey's butthole of media
yeah.
for some people.
Some people boof everything.
But I like that there's a character named Boof in Teen Wolf.
Really?
Yeah, the chick.
Oh wow.
The cool friend that Michael
Yeah.
J. Fox's character.
No shit, she's cool. She's boofing it all.
I mean, with a name like Boof, how do you not yeah, you're the one.
Yeah,
I may
really.
be a wolf, but you're an animal, you know?
Yeah. We got to say Profiles in Eccentricity on Instagram. Get a look at these freaks, weirdos. PP Podcast on Twitter.
Yeah, mainly lately I've just been responding to stuff, and then if someone sends me something about pee, and then I respond to that. That's basically what I've been doing lately.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
That's cool
well,
too.
It's PP Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you link the new videos and episodes and Dallas's great cartoons. Check
Yes.
those out too.
Yeah, I put
Just-
up the Ketchum Brothers one this week.
We got to. I don't
I'm gonna ride one day. I'm gonna ride me the Lolita Express. What's in this safe?
Yeah, that was really fun. I don't think I posted the last one he did on Instagram yet. I gotta put that shit up.
I don't know what the fuck you're waiting
Oh,
for.
that's
That's
a
really
good
good.
one. Yeah, it's,
Chris Colt.
Oh,
I've got
God,
a-
it's so good.
for the Patreon that's coming up before this episode, I got another dumb Western criminal.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, follow us on or subscribe on Patreon. $5 a month to get an extra episode per week. And Matt was putting together this little profile for this one, and he was giggling the whole way home.
And I live here.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
live in Chineseville.
What?
Yeah.
Shout out to Dodger for reminding me of what college booze tastes like.
Yeah, Dodger gave us these little airplane bottles of booze that
Yeah.
we told him we would drink on the program. Aaron was very unhappy with this.
Yeah. While you're giving Dodger a shout out, I'm going to give him a big old fuck you for sending me 2 bottles of Sailor Jerry spiced rum.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get that.
Well, I got the Jim
spice
Beam
rum.
Kentucky bourbon, and I traded you one for one.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to trade it for some of that Southern Comfort.
Matt would not give away any of his Southern Comfort.
That's not true. No one asked.
Oh, well,
it was
heavily hinted that
I would trade you a Jim Beam for a.
No, you don't get no.
I don't want Sailor
for a
fucking
Southern
shit.
Comfort.
For the spiced cum, I want to come far.
I think you know that you were greedy for Southern Comfort, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I need
trying to get
I need my
spunked
sugar.
here.
And of course we have a big sexual right behind me. You like that?
God, it's terrible.
Oh,
Big Sexual's great.
He drew it on
And to all the good shite.
He did it on like the most fucked up piece of paper. I was talking to him earlier today.
No, he must have crinkled it after. He couldn't have drawn that.
No. They have like a scrap paper drawer because they won't throw anything away unless like they draw on both sides.
So instead of throwing it away, he mails it to you. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, he draws this and then he mails it to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw. I think in that last. I think it was the last cartoon. Dallas had snuck in a little R.I.P. Big Sexual on the wall.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
R.I.P. Big Sexual.
Now this is a big fucking deal here.
It's a BFD.
This is a big fucking deal. Okay. Long awaited. Aaron.
Hey,
Mike Tyson.
John. you ever fuck with boxing legends?
You ever fuck with research?
You ever fuck with profiles, John? Matt? You ever fuck with living legends? With folk heroes? Immortals?
On this show?
In life.
So I think people that listen to the show for a long time know.
Which they all do.
Before we went to the cabin trip, we had just inhaled the Rogan interview with Tyson.
The first one.
And then you exhaled it.
And then we exhaled it.
Well, we were waiting
at the cabin. Very, 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 very hardcore. And so that I think that was the first I knew that you were really into Tyson, and I had my own little thing with finding out about Mike Tyson, and especially the early years when I was in like my parents' house and. I think he'd already gone to jail and stuff at this point. I was like maybe 13, 14 years old, but there was like a little, I think it was all subtitled with the narration, and it was all music carrying it.
Was all in Irish?
No. I mean, it was just music because it was VH1, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So it was just doing music and then showing like pictures throughout his life, and then I found out all about the birds and Cus and all that stuff, and he really does have, and I was fascinated. Yeah. I was so fucking fascinated by it. It was the first time I ever knew any of the gentler side of Mike.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up. We always watched Friday Night Fights. So boxing was just something that it was a sport that we always talked about, and
it was during the time when heavyweight boxing was in its modern day prime. And it was nobody talks about it now. There's no heavyweight boxing.
No.
Yeah.
It was because it became too heavyweight.
Yeah,
Everybody
it was
became
just
too big, and it was
slow,
was boring.
and
and they probably started testing for steroids.
Yeah.
It was like George Foreman losing to Ali was like, oh, okay, everybody doesn't have to be the biggest fucking bruiser.
Right.
That fucking psycho from the Frank Matthews episode, the one that's all coked up and talking shit to him, he's just a dealer. He's in the ring talking mad shit on Ali's behalf to George Foreman, who at that time was a murder machine.
Yeah. Maybe
Like,
the hardest hitting guy.
oh my god, yeah.
So this is part one of Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
It'll be a two-parter.
How did you get real quick? Did you have an early experience like I had, like where you like found out about Mike? And
Yeah. So I mean, obviously Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah.
The video game, and
then it became Punch Out, but everybody still knew it. As
but it was also Punch Out before, like in the arcades. And then when
it went to
Nintendo had the
home.
the NES,
okay.
they branded it with him. We'll get to that, I guess, a little bit in the next episode. But my goal is to kind of do what John did with Nixon, which is to kind of give the stuff that is not the stuff everybody knows.
Yeah.
Right.
Before the crown and after the crown.
Right. It's just this guy. Like, listen, everybody's got demons, but I fucking love this guy.
Yeah.
I've said it before, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but like I think he is the closest we have to a living folk hero.
Yeah.
Like Robin Hood, or Davy Crockett, or Hercules, right?
Oh yeah.
He's just got an incredible arc, and
everybody's got a story about him. Every famous person is like a story about
what's
him.
your Mike Tyson story?
And-
Or it's like your Bill Murray story.
Yes, and
Except with violence
and like
cocaine.
and he doesn't remember them.
Yeah, that's
like every time like somebody shows up on his show or like his podcast or whatever, like he's just like listening along and being like, huh, yeah, and like there's like it seems like if that's like the day to day, there's only so much your memory is going to allow for.
I mean, there's so much in his
to that
life.
person. It's an unforgettable night.
And he ties in, especially in boxing. He's this thread that runs through and connects all of these
different eras,
from Cus to to Don King.
Yeah.
He is this this genre defying and unifying person, because even we'll get to the styles and stuff like that. And to be fair, I'd say I love Mike Tyson, but like I don't listen to his show.
Oh right.
I don't listen to. I mean, I don't listen to very many.
Well, you're keeping the folk. You're keeping the folk story alive.
Don't meet your heroes. I read the book. I read a few books.
Yeah.
Right.
But maybe I'll listen to it.
And his show directed by Spike Lee too.
I did watch that.
Yeah.
I've watched the documentary that came out like 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
I don't think I saw that.
And then I saw his live show. Yeah. So I've seen that too.
What'd you read?
Undisputed Truth.
Undisputed Truth. Yeah.
I saw a film, a documentary without any, talking heads, filmed in 1982 in Cus D'amato's camp.
Oh, so it just so happens to have him there.
Yeah.
When he's like 13.
Yeah. He was like 15.
15. Wow.
But
and he's an animal.
Amazing. But
we'll get to it. So our good friend Michael Gerard Tyson was born in
MG Tyson
on June 30th, 1966, Cumberland Hospital, the Fort Greene section of Brooklyn, Brownsville.
Mm-hmm.
He says his earliest memories are of being in the hospital. He said he's always sick, growing up with like lung problems.
Oh God.
Bronchitis, stuff like that. One time when he was a kid, to get some attention, he stuck his thumb in some Drano and then stuck it in his mouth.
Jesus.
And so his grandma rushed him to the hospital. So it's another hospital memory. His mother's name was Lorna May.
It gave me something of a lisp.
I don't know how I could have possibly fucked up my oral cavity in such a way to speak like this. Perhaps I dipped it in some sort of caustic fluid.
It's not so much that I have a lisp. It's completely numb.
That's all I have. I've got something of a bifurcated tongue on account of the Drano.
Ooh, this tastes good. Suck my fucking thumb,
my
man.
pipes are clean, needless to say. Oh God, we're going to hell. Mike, if you're listening,
it was John.
I love you.
It was John.
So his mother was Lorna May.
Lorna May.
Whose mother was Bertha Price. And both Bertha,
Grandma and
Mike's
mom.
Grandma, Bertha, had a sister, and they both worked for this white lady, doing house keeping type of stuff, and domestic work, as it was called. And this was in a time where a lot of white people would not employ black people.
Right. Also in New York.
Virginia.
Oh, okay.
And her name was Lorna, and so both Bertha and her sister named their daughters Lorna after this white woman, because she
good lady.
Yeah, paid enough for Bertha to send her kids to college and stuff like that. So, they had a good experience with her. And according to Mike, Bertha was a big woman, and he might have got the knockout gene from her.
Really?
Because Bertha was working at the house with Lorna, and her husband, I think, was fond of beating Lorna.
The white Lorna.
The white Lorna, that's right. And Bertha didn't like that. And one day Bertha had seen enough, and she told the guy, don't you put your hands on her. And he laughed. She threw a punch and knocked him on his ass.
Whoa.
And
let's see if you're laughing now, huh?
The next morning,
she has it too.
And the next morning when he came down and saw her, he was a changed man. It was, well, how are you doing, Mrs. Price? Good morning. And he never did it.
That's what I thought.
And she punched the devil right out of him, huh?
That's right.
Yeah. That can happen.
It can. We saw fried green tomatoes.
Yeah.
And that's not what happened. So Mike, like I said, 66, born in 66. He has an older brother named Rodney and an older sister named Denise. They live in Bed-Stuy for the first few years of his life. And his mom, she's a pretty popular lady in the community.
Does that mean she was a good time gal?
No.
Lorna May.
No.
Lorna May.
For a minute, she had a good job working in something like related to detention centers. Like she was educated.
Yeah, like you work the computer there.
If you know how to, if you've got some skills, like she had administrative type of stuff.
But detention center, like prisons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or any sort of correction. I mean, a jail or a prison. Anything.
Coop.
Pigeons. His dad, like he never really knew his dad. They were told that their biological father was this one fella who was maybe like kind of a reverend, but also maybe a pimp.
It's a fine line.
Yeah, he talks about it in the book. Like anytime somebody says they're a reverend, I'm like, you mean reverend / pimp, right?
Yeah. Oh, this your flock, huh?
Yeah. So his mom was, pretty popular. Every Friday and Saturday, he said it was like Vegas in their apartment. And like she'd have card parties.
She had a tiger.
No tigers, not that Vegas yet. A couple of homos from Germany came by with their cat.
she had Jewish gangsters.
Yeah.
That's what you say.
Siegfried. My man.
Siegfried. And so she would invite all her girlfriends over, and she'd send her boyfriend Eddie to the liquor store to go buy bottles of booze, and they'd sell watered down shots to make money for the house.
Go ahead, Eddie, you cuck.
And
he's making money.
She'd make wings.
Ooh. Well, that sounds good.
And it was kind of like the running the gamut of the neighborhood. He said that there were business owners and hookers and gangsters and fucking detectives. Like it was just kind of this,
It's the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's the neighborhood.
It's the neighborhood.
And now, some of his mom's friends weren't prostitutes per se, but they would sometimes drop their kids off at at his place.
Yeah.
While they would go
sell it on the weekend.
And everybody had a side hustle.
Yeah, I mean, people who put puzzles together don't call themselves puzzle makers. That's just a thing they do.
That's one of the things they do. Yeah, and so they'd go and they'd come back with some money and maybe some blood on their clothes.
Damn it!
And his mom would help him clean up and stuff. But he just saw that everybody had some other side thing. Mm-hmm. And one time he said his brother Rodney was a real weirdo. He was like, this guy always had like...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he said...
He's the oddball, huh?
Yeah, he said like...
What a
he was
goof.
like, man, he was always on some white people shit. He had like test tubes and elixirs and chemistry sets and stuff.
Hey, Rodney, what the fuck you
And he
doing
was always
in here,
fucking
man?
around with things like that.
Is that calcium?
That's calcium nitrate. That is a caustic mineral. A caustic mineral salt.
Let me taste it.
You put that together with a little bit of ammonia. You got yourself a bomb there, pal.
You really strange, man. I'll be on the roof with my pigeons being a human killing machine.
Anyway, good luck with the periodic table.
You sure are strange, Rodney. I'll give it to you.
I find the fist does the work too.
And so, like, one day Rodney went to like the community college to go access their lab or something like that, and he just like went into his brother's room and started fucking mixing test tubes and shit, and blew the black window out of the apartment and set it on fire.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Damn.
They
What was Rodney up to?
Well,
I don't know. I mean, it could
just normal chemistry, John. But you can't just throw anybody into normal chemistry.
This is like 73, so crack's not around yet. It's not like he's cooking crack. Maybe he invented it. I don't know. Maybe he was working for the CIA.
What do you think he was making?
I have no idea. I think he was just interested in the stuff.
Yeah.
Chemistry sets. You could buy chemistry sets when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like where you could just mix chemicals together.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
And you can still like.
Hell yeah! I'm gonna give my kid all that shit.
It's dope.
Yeah, I don't care. Burn yourself.
Figure it
They
out.
tell you not to do a thing.
No.
I mean,
Don't just.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's Cus D'amato was a big believer in astrology,
And all sorts of alternative.
and Tyson is a Cancer, and Cus always said, "You're the type of person that has to put your hand on the stove to learn it's hot."
Huh.
And so I am already seeing that.
He's got to.
I gotta put my tongue in the Drano.
And then he also told him, like, you're a real cancer kid. My mom also used to say that. One time, Rodney was asleep, him and his sister and Mike and Denise, they were like watching like all these like fucking General Hospital or surgeon, surgeon dramas and stuff. And they're like,
what, they're gonna cut up Rodney?
Let's play doctor. And so they got a fucking like straight razor while he was sleeping, and they like sliced him up a little bit. And then he was like, nurse, you give me the alcohol to sanitize the cut. And she gave him, and they fucking both slapped him with alcohol, and he fucking woke up screaming.
Oh God!
Slicing it, like he's still got the
cutting. The cutting didn't wake him up. But the alcohol
it's probably all the chemicals he was saying.
I'm having a beautiful dream of being surgeoned. Oh yeah.
Denise, let's circumcise this motherfucker.
Give me the alcohol.
Let's see. So, they had a somewhat, they were poor, but not destitute,
Sure.
And then, so, all in all, they were living a pretty okay little existence there without, with as good as it could be for a single black mother living in Brooklyn at the time. But, I think the economy took a turn around this time, and
this is what late 70s,
mid 70s.
Okay.
And they had to they got evicted, and they had to move to Brownsville.
Yeah.
Out of Bed-Stuy. And they were really, really poor. They had to they would get evicted, and while his mom was going out looking for jobs, they'd have to sit on their belongings so the movers wouldn't take them.
Yeah, movers are fucking assholes with that shit.
Yeah, but they're probably on the verge of eviction too. They're just trying to keep their shit.
They'll just throw it out the window. It's just like, what the fuck is good as that? You're just breaking my shit.
Yeah, and back then they probably weren't insured and bonded movers. They're probably just hired thugs.
Yeah.
It was a bad neighborhood. Some guy fucking took Michael when he was 10 into an abandoned building and tried to molest him. He says they didn't get molested, but who fucking knows, right? Mm-hmm. He said they went from being poor to being seriously poor to being fucked up poor, in the course of 6 months.
Wow.
I could see it.
His brother and sister had their own room, but he slept in his mom's bed up until he was 13.
Damn.
Fuck.
He said he was I was a real mama's boy. I slept in her bed even when I didn't have to. I slept in her bed when she had a dude in it, and they thought I was asleep, but I wasn't.
What?
He's that was just kind of that's just how it was.
Are you fucking with me?
No.
That's real shit.
So his mom is in the bed fucking a dude next to her son?
It's
just like Paul.
No, but John, the fucking guy, that guy.
The fucking guy?
The guy is the big... That guy's like... Oh,
yeah, I'll fuck you with your kid next to you.
Hey, he's probably asleep. Look at him, he's asleep. He's not even breathing. Oh,
try the couch.
John.
Who?
Huh?
Mike?
Maybe there's people, maybe the kid...
Anybody.
Maybe the brother, the Rodney and the sister.
Why are you defending this?
No.
Why are you defending...
The couch got moved.
I'm giving you an option. People are watching TV on the couch.
Who?
The brother and sister.
No, they're in their fucking room.
You don't know in this particular situation.
It's fucking... Well, go to your room, kids.
Well, listen, if he's sleeping in the bed, if he's sleeping in his mom's bed and his mom comes home with the dude.
Yeah. That dude isn't going to stop.
That dude's not going to be
But get the fuck out.
Yeah, duh. It's unacceptable. But how many great men have we talked about have been in the bed with their mom fucking another guy?
Well, when you put it that way, Aaron.
Richard Pryor.
It's really what makes the man.
This will cause no issue.
Yeah.
I will be great.
Oh yeah, especially 13 years old with a fucking boner the next night when you're alone. Jesus Christ.
It is just like Paul. If
you guys don't know what just like Paul means, it's for a good reason. We'll get to it.
One word. Taboo.
2. The new batch.
Don't say bad.
Tabooer.
I can't believe it wasn't taboo TOO. Instead Teen Wolf 2.
Taboo 2. Yeah.
It wasn't. Anyways.
2 taboo.
So this was a really shitty neighborhood at that time. Really, really bad. Probably the worst in the country.
Jesus.
And he'd be it was just a fucking city full of lust and hate. And you'd be driving down the street or walking down the street and you hear people saying suck my dick, eat my pussy, motherfucker, shit like that.
Eat the pussy, I eat the ass, I eat everything.
I'm hungry. And he got picked on a lot because he was a chubby little kid with a lisp. And he said he smelled bad.
Yeah.
He wasn't he didn't get hygiene yet. And especially, sometimes they, they
you're
didn't
poor.
have hot water
Yeah.
a lot or power a lot. So,
Showering without hot water is fucking the worst.
yeah.
When you're poor, you're gonna stink.
Yeah. And they'd pick him. They'd take his fucking lunch money. He one time he because the schools would give you free lunch and stuff. So he would he'd get his lunch and then he'd just pack his pockets with meatballs. And he's like, if they gave my lunch money, that's one thing, but I'm not gonna let them take my fucking meatballs, man. And they fucking one time they robbed him and they fucking took his meatballs.
No, fuck!
And
They picked his pocket.
Dude, it was really fucked up. They fucked up. It was really sad.
Wow.
But he hated feeling vulnerable like that.
Yeah.
And powerless, and he was just it was humiliating.
Yeah.
And he has really low self-esteem.
You're saying has.
I mean, I think now he's worked through a lot of it, but it's something that's still there. But I think throughout his entire life, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
that's something that just disappears fully.
No, it's something that, it gets manipulated and he then uses to his own. But, but it is that thing that low self-esteem and low self-worth was something that's really, a big part of who Mike Tyson was and maybe still is. But, he was caught committing a lot of crimes.
Yeah.
I mean, he started going on robbing sprees. He just wanted to be one of the cool kids. And, when he would get made fun of for being a smelly motherfucker, one time one of these, some of the older kids, I think he was maybe 8 or 9 at this point. And, I guess maybe, 9. And, instead of picking on him, they asked him to go run some errands for them. So they realized maybe he had some use. And so he had to go pick up some stuff and feed their pigeons. Because everybody having pigeons was kind of the thing.
Why?
Dude, they're cheap pets that you don't keep in the house.
Yeah, you can. In New York,
it's a cultural thing, right?
In New York, you can
have
put them
pigeon
on top.
coops on the top of the building, and you can train them and clap them.
You can race them. It's,
Pigeons are really smart animals.
they come back.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it.
Well, that's all you got to know, pretty much.
Is that really it?
I mean, that's how you get in, John. John, this is just the basics for you.
But what is everybody doing with these fucking pigeons? So I know racing.
They are excellent at directions.
Yeah.
They can be trained pigeons. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but pigeons have won medals in wars.
Yeah.
Yes,
Carrier
we have,
pigeons,
yes.
right? And
Yeah.
then messaging
And they're sweet little birds. I mean, we think of them as rats with wings, but they're good eats too.
They can be. They can look pretty.
Yeah.
They can have some nice foliage. And,
Yeah.
And you put them on your roof, and you don't have to have a dog or a cat.
Yeah.
You have a pigeon. It's going to shit in the floor, but the floor is all straw, and you just sweep it out. But it's something you look after, and you feel it's a living plant.
You ever fuck with birds?
Yeah, I mean, they have personality.
Yeah.
I saw this thing where it's one of the most insane things I've ever seen. Joe told me to watch it. It's the Birdman of boxing. And it's just Mike Tyson in England with a bunch of pigeon guys for a half an hour. And then they all take pictures with them at the end.
Yeah.
And you go, who made this and why?
Why did they make
There's no
more?
introduction to it, but
It's just someone filming.
But it's all these guys talking. I guess they have they had championship birds, and they were talking about the different things about keeping it. And one of the things that was interesting to me was the younger ones don't really clean out the coop, keep their immune system stronger. After a certain age,
That makes sense. Sure.
then it's a clean.
Like you do with regular kids.
Then it's a clean coop.
Yeah.
They were talking about, and Mike's talking about ones that when they get lost and shit like that, the little tag they put around their ankle or whatever and stuff, so you know where it goes and
It sounds like you know quite a bit, John.
But I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that you can race them. But I don't know what else you can do.
Well, there's honestly
you can bond.
There's something kind of magic about
a flock
setting a pigeon off, and it flies and it flies and it
comes back.
flies and it comes back. And
I guess, yeah.
and then a group of them too.
Yeah.
They there's a beauty in the flock.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know if there's more I was missing It is,
we're speculating. I've never had pigeons.
But
Oh,
also,
I had
but
a
it is
pigeon
a
Really?
thing.
Yeah.
You had pigeons?
I had chickens growing up, but my dad, he found a pigeon once, and he nursed it back to health, and it would fly around.
And come back.
And then when it got back to full health, it flew back to wherever it came from.
Oh,
Wow.
And he called it Poncho. It was very sweet.
Wow.
that is really sweet.
I think that's part of it is just the idea that it goes in the sky and does the thing that we all want to do, and then it still comes back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had chickens, and all of them, the chickens were very unique.
Now
on
chickens
their
do
own.
not fly.
And they don't fly.
I threw them off the garage roof a bunch when I was a kid.
They
Really?
could slow down.
Yeah,
But not very well.
In retrospect, not a good idea. They were. But even then, I still cared for them. They were all really interesting.
Well, it sounds like you really cared for them
I did. We
by
named,
throwing them off the roof,
well, that was
tenderizing them. Psycho.
And on that note, I think we should take a little break.
Sure.
And we're back.
Hey.
Hey.
We were really gone there for a second.
So how long? How old is Mike Tyson now, man?
Mike is I think he's about 10.
Trying to
now.
impress the bullies.
Yeah, and the pigeons.
Yeah.
He gets
Trying to impress the pigeons.
He gets enamored by the pigeons.
He was born in
And then-
what year again? I'm
He
sorry.
was born in 66.
66,
So this
okay.
is about this time of 675, 76. 77. And he one of the older kids, Barkeem, he is the one who's kind of running these guys who asks him to go get the stuff for the pigeon and stuff and, stop picking on Mike even though he smells like shit.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that the pigeon man took him under his wing.
Wing. Nice.
Wing.
Do you know any songs by Wings?
Love take me down to the street. That's not Wings. That nobody sings that.
And so, Barkeem was like, listen, man, you got to fucking shower up. You got to, I'll pay you to come help me out with this stuff. So it gets some
Stink like a pigeon.
Yeah. Well, the young ones got to be stinky.
They do.
Is that what you were saying?
That's
Right?
That's their immune
that's how they
system.
build the-
I'll tell you how I actually built up my own immune
I
system.
followed the pigeon system of immunology.
I took a symbol of Drano to the dome.
Yeah, after that, the immune system's like, we got it.
I cleared everything out to replace it with a pigeon microbiome.
I'll tell you something. I'd rather have a couple a thimble of Drano than this sale of Jettery right now. That's fact.
Taylor Davy. Southern Comfort.
Southern Comfort. Oh, you disgusting. Oh, he's going for another one.
You
Here
have
we
one
go
of them
again.
Southern Comfort cocktails?
Here we go.
It tastes better on the way down.
Oh, is that a Comfort tsunami by any chance?
Oh.
You can really taste the sugar.
It's a sudden comfort tsunami. It's called a monsoon.
It's monsoon.
Jesus Christ.
So dumb.
Oh, we should make like a Cajun seasoning called monsoon seasoning.
It's French, right? Monsoon.
Ugh, God, warm Jim Beam that's been shipped to the fucking mail. It's got COVID.
No.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
So
Sterile.
Barkeem,
Piss.
Barkeem shows him the ropes and some stuff. He's doesn't like getting picked on, but he's still getting picked on. But he's slowly getting a little
And pecked on.
there's a pecking order. So he's slowly getting showed the ropes, getting a little more self-esteem or
the ropes,
confidence. Barkeem's like
I
looking
don't
at,
think that bad, Barkeem, do I?
goes on starts like breaking into places with this crew. Breaking into houses, robbing people. It's pretty brazen shit.
Yeah?
And this isn't in their neighborhood though.
Right now it's not.
Okay.
Right-
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's not a good
right, 'cause
trajectory.
That's the kind of unwritten rules. You don't break into your own neighborhood.
Well, especially if you have to break into stuff, there's probably nothing to steal in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
If it's bad, and
You don't shit what you eat.
no,
Unless you're a pigeon. Very
or
good,
a
Eric.
pig and pigs.
Love it. What is this shit? Food? I don't care.
So he was with his crew called the Cats, and some of the
Nice.
cats got into an altercation with the Puma Boys,
Oh no, those are also cats.
and so they stole a bunch of shit, and they were gonna go to the park and have like a duke it out.
Yeah, a snap off.
Yeah, with the with some stolen pistols, 357 Magnum, an M1 rifle with a bayonet from World War I. He's like,
No.
you never know what kind of shit you find robbing people's houses.
Oh my
true,
God.
So he's there, and he's walking in the park, with his crew.
I slaughtered Nazis with that bayonet.
This is just a picture of a family.
Then he
You
hears
see
a
the
voice.
togetherness?
He hears a voice from behind one of the cars. He said, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he looks, and it was his brother Rodney.
And he was mixing test tubes.
Oh yeah, he was like, "I'm making a bomb. This car runs on piss."
This is a mobile meth lab.
So he just kept walking and went home, and he was 10,
Jeez.
and he was going into like.
Just because his brother was just behind a car?
No, he was there on the other fucking side, basically.
Really?
Oh, his brother was a part of the Pumas.
Yeah. Wearing
shit.
Adidas.
Oh my God!
It was a popular shoe.
you know,
So really, his brother was in the other game.
His brother was a part of this fucking thing going down.
But he's on some white people shit, so he's talking like this here.
I'm the smart brother from Die Hard. I'm the one that does all the hacking. into
Jesus
the computer.
Christ, Mike, what the fuck are you doing
Oh,
here?
God darn it, Mike.
I just think of the black guy from Die Hard now.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll just hack into the mainframe here.
You didn't hire me for our winning personality.
He hired me for my cable knit sweater.
It's because I'm a hacker, dude.
I'm hacking. Bingo.
Hello, friend.
Open sesame.
He's like that, but with chemicals.
Yeah. Mike would, use his robbery. He was making, hundreds for a 10-year-old, and he's got a few $100s, and it's the 70s,
Making rolls of quarters.
So he's got, he's bringing food home.
Yeah.
And so his sister and mom aren't really
Stealing food.
aren't in a position to say anything, and they also already know,
Yeah.
and they're not going to say, he's got nicer clothes, he doesn't stink,
Yeah.
and he's bringing them food home and stuff, and so they knew where it was coming from, and they just considered him kind of a lost cause at that point.
Damn.
And he talks about how he's like, I was starting to look the part and smell the part, but I still didn't have any swagger or confidence. And one time I went and I was walking home from not going to school, because he would just show up to school, eat free breakfast, and leave.
Yeah.
And then come back and then just go home.
This has been tight, y'all.
Thanks for the food.
I have learned a lot.
No, I did not shit my pants. These are meatballs.
Nobody will ever, never again. And so he tried to get in on a girls' game of double dutch, and they beat the shit out of him.
No way.
No.
The girls did?
Mike, you stink.
Dude, I get it, man. I got fucking tied down, not tied down. I got held down by a bunch of girls one time, and they were fucking holding me down and smooching me and stuff. It was
Really?
mad fucked up.
That's cool.
Yeah, they fucking straight up molested me.
Really?
And I was like,
Circumcised you.
no, I don't know.
Oh, that explains.
They botched it.
You do seem lighter.
There's a botched circumcision.
Yeah. Look at this shit. It looks like calamari, man.
This was on the playground, on the schoolyard, and they just fucking they held me down. It was mad fucked up. So I get it. I get where the violent.
I mean, were you asking for it?
Did you see what I was wearing? The Oshkosh overalls really were accentuating my foreskin.
What? I'm sorry. I don't mean to take.
I'm not traumatized
I don't mean
by it,
to
so
go
please.
to but whoever thought that was a good rebuttal?
What?
They were asking for it. How is that a good rebuttal?
No,
in any
asking
way?
for it is a nightmare rebuttal.
Yeah.
No, they totally deserved it because they were wearing a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Bugle Boy, and the Bugle is calling out for a predator.
It says gotcha.
Don't you know people are animals? Come on.
Right, and that is the thinking behind it, that men are
How
animals.
is that
but
logic?
It's not logical.
No, it's insane to me.
So
Scatological.
So they fucked him up, and he gets beat up, but he just goes on robbing sprees, and he gets more and more brazen. He starts robbing from people in his own neighborhood.
Damn.
If his mom would have people over,
Ooh.
he would just climb up the fire escape and go rob their shit and come back down. And then when they would be oh, Lorna, they fucking took everything. They took the baby food and shit. She'd be like, Michael, what'd you do? He's like, I didn't do shit. Looked in my room, did everything. He stored it all on top of the building, and then he'd go back and get it.
Oh, the pigeons must have took it.
Yeah, they're eating the baby food.
and they're called carrier pigeons, Mom.
Goba pigeons.
So he just really he said, I was never shown any compassion, so I didn't even understand what that was.
Having guilt over it.
Yeah, he's like, I know, I was fair game, so I considered everything fair game.
And that also fits in with the hand on the burner. He's never been shown what compassion is.
Mm-hmm.
How does he know what it is? He's never felt it.
Yeah, and that's also very Carl Panzer too.
Sure.
You know, you're a predator or you're prey.
Right. And it's just it's really fucked up, right? We don't have any idea what it was like, especially in that part of the country at that time, being a fatherless black child. It's just this, you watch movies about it, us as in our kind of age and socioeconomic strata.
Yeah.
And you see like, oh man, fucking New York's always wet and it's steamy and it looks like a nightmare.
Right.
But that was like every day for fucking 30 years in parts of New York.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, it's just one of those things where you go like, all right, think about being fucked up broke. And then it's January.
It's fucking freezing.
Like it's just,
you don't have any heat.
Yeah.
Apocalyptically
And then, but
cold.
also the people who have power are saying you deserve this.
Yes.
This is how you always are, and you're like, wait,
and then
what?
you steal more shit, and
then they go,
and
this is how you
reinforces
always are.
the thing. Yeah.
And you're like, what? Yeah.
And now also around this time, I think he had already done like everything from coke.
He was doing, he was smoking weed, drinking.
He was 10, 11, 12. Doing
and probably smoked dust.
I think he said, like the first time like in that Rogan interview, he was like, oh man, it's like, when was the first time he did like any of that? Like 9.
Yeah.
Something like
I can't even imagine what the
I started Drano at like 3. So everything with the step down from there. Joe.
Nothing inhibited by speaking.
That was a rush, man.
You ever fuck with lime away?
that got him good.
So
Joe.
So he one of the times he I think they scored a couple $1,000 robbing somebody's house, and so he got his cut of like $600-700, and so he's like, I'm gonna go get some fucking pigeons, and I'm gonna do it right. And so he bought a bunch of pigeons, got in a crate, helped him onto the subway, and he's like fucking 11 years old,
and this is not fun subway New York.
No, this is like fucking what were they called, the Angels? Who were the subway angels in New York?
Guardian Angels.
That might have been like 1980.
Yeah, around there.
But I mean, it got so bad. Bernie Getz had a fucking blow some people's heads off.
This is not a good time for to be riding the subway.
And so, but he's got Mike Tyson there. He's got his pigeon, and he goes and takes it back to his building. One of his fucking bullies like starts fucking with his pigeon and grabs one of his pigeons. He's like, yo, man, give me my pigeon back. And you give me my pigeons back. And he's like, you want it? And he just fucking rips the pigeon's head off in front of him.
Jesus Christ.
And they were like, don't let him do that, Mike. And like, he's crying, like he's fucking like breaking down, And this is probably one of the only like living creatures that ever showed any sort of docility.
Well, no, but
it was something that he ever showed.
The birds do show an appreciation. They know when you're bringing food. They know when you're bringing water. They recognize patterns.
Yeah, and
they recognize you as some there
used to be dinosaurs.
There is
exactly right
thing.
there.
Even just with chickens, there's this weird where you're like, oh, okay, they're not being a dicks to me because they're fucking idiots.
There's a
but
connection.
At the same time.
Yeah. And so, but it's also one of the only things that he's showing any sort of compassion
Sure,
to,
right?
And he's learning.
And this guy ripped his head off.
Yeah.
So fucking Mike beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Like he didn't know he could do it.
Is this the story that became the story of like the garbage man who threw away his shit and he knocked him out? Because there's this story that I think is apocryphal about Mike Tyson being like, the garbage man threw away some pigeons and then he knocked him out.
I think that's apocryphal. This is
Garbage man?
Yeah.
Just up and took a pigeon?
Yeah, like the garbage man was like, pigeon cage, and tossed it into the garbage, and then Mike Tyson punched him and knocked him out.
You fucking motherfucker.
And so I feel like this is that
Mac.
story.
This is from Mike's mouth.
Yeah.
And I think it's not only from the book, but I think he also told it on a few like other shows. Or interviews maybe with Sports Illustrated or something like that. And so, he didn't know what he was doing, but he fucking threw a punch and beat this older kid up. And like, he's like, I never felt, more powerful or
yeah.
And so he's like, after that, he's like, I would just be going around telling my friends, exacting revenge on people that fucked me up growing up. We could just be walking around town and I'd see somebody and be like, I hate that motherfucker. And they would stop what he was doing and go beat somebody up.
Oh, no.
If you excuse me for a minute, I have to handle something.
All right, wait.
Revenge is a dish best served freezing cold.
Yeah.
And it's been a while.
Best fisted to them.
He would get shot at by the cops. He's like, it was just a bad time. in New York. And eventually, by the time he was 13, I think he had been arrested 38 times.
Jesus.
And because he was a minor, he was catch and release type of stuff.
Yeah.
But his mom would always beat his ass in the police station whenever he got caught.
Damn.
And was in and out of juvenile detention a lot. They got diagnosed him as retarded, saying that because that's what they called him.
Yeah.
Not because you love the word.
That has nothing to do with it. Developmentally retarded is what it was because his development was retarded.
Right.
They said.
He's a friend.
It definitely receded by several events in my past, I must say.
Yeah, the Drano didn't help.
Now, Liquid Plumber is a whole different category.
Liquid Plumber is my wrestling name.
That's the good shit.
I was a Liquid Thumber, you understand?
No.
Well, no, I don't know what I'm saying. It's Liquid Thumber. You dip your thumb.
Oh, man.
Liquid Thumber?
It's like fun. Now, that's the real fun dip.
Fuck the fucking thing, Mike.
Thumb dip.
It's gonna be a
What'd you
character
say?
trait.
Wow. It's my calling card. So he gets sent like upstate to like a kind of more involved detention facility. Like, he's in juvenile hall.
Sure.
He's like at Adirondacks area.
I don't.
Just not. He's not
upstate
New York,
right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
Beautiful
maybe
country up here.
Albany.
Yeah. He's like, wow, the trees.
They skip Ritalin and go straight to Thorazine.
Oh.
So
Yikes.
Ritalin is that it's a stimulant they give for ADHD or whatever back in the day. Thorazine is like a fucking tranquilizer.
Yes.
So he's like teed out. And he's it just kind of numbs you, right? And so now he's troubled. And he's at this place where he would still act out, and I think his mom would he was like, "Mom, I can't get any weed." His mom would like sometimes bring him weed to smoke. He'd get really pissed off.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Thorazine worked.
I mean, fuck it. Like I know this thing will keep my kid from being a maniac.
Right.
Like, what the hell? What other options do I have?
They don't have any Drano.
Like, he's gonna be in jail. They're gonna fucking beat the shit out of him.
Yeah,
It's
it's all fucked up.
I would rather he smoke weed and get the shit kicked out of him in jail.
Maybe
Let's just chill him out till he's 30.
and everything will be fine.
Smoke him.
So, so he's there. He's in the detention center, and he would see that some kids they would accrue enough credits or merits or something, and then they would like disappear for the day, and then they would come back, and they'd come back like with black eyes, bloody noses, split lips.
But with like, they felt great.
Yeah, he was like, he thought that they were fucking getting fucked up because social services is a joke back then and everything. He didn't know what to think, but he'd hear them saying like, "Oh man, we almost got him, we almost did it." So he's like, "What the fuck is going on?"
I had the time of my life.
And he's like, "Oh, these kids is some BDSM shit." And
This is a
it turns out they were going to see Mr. Stewart, who was one of the counselors, and they were boxing him.
Yeah.
So Bobby Stewart was one of
This
the.
guy's just like, he's just punching kids all day. All right, you're learning, kid. How do you like that? You son of a bitch. You're all dry on drugs, aren't you?
Bobby Stewart used to be a professional boxer, was a national amateur champ.
Really?
And he was teaching the kids who would earn enough merits or credits boxing.
So you get enough credits for being good to go get your ass whipped by Mr. Stewart?
Bobby?
Hey, Bobby Stewart.
Will you please beat me up, sir?
Oh, man, you fucked me up good this time, Bobby.
Please, sir, can
I'm
I have
gonna be
another?
extra good this September.
Though I can be bad.
And you really fucked. I was,
Mr. Stewart.
I really gotta say, you fucked me up.
Boys.
Really quite bad.
What do you mean?
And
You want me to beat the shit out of you?
Oh, golly.
so he
fucking love it.
He asks how he can be a part of that group, and like,
How do I sidle my way into this crew,
or
man?
whatever. But that, like one night, fucking dude knocks on his dorm door and he's like, "Hey, asshole, I heard you wanted to see me."
What's up, dickhead?
Yeah.
Hey,
And
that's me.
he goes, listen, I'm teaching these kids boxing. Maybe if you get your act right and fucking, behave correctly, maybe they'll let you come box. And Mike's like, dude,
stop stealing meatballs for half a fucking second.
Take the meatballs out of your pants. You can fight me
if you stop smelling like shit. And so he's like, dude, I was calling everybody ma'am and sir, and I made my bed, and I wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And they finally let him, and so he's going, and it's a weekly thing, and he was like, I was thinking like I learned how to fight so I could go back home and rob people more.
Yeah. Fuck them up.
Yeah, and fuck them up.
but also it is an avenue,
Totally.
like hand on the burner shit.
Yeah.
He learned that he could.
He was
It's a,
good.
it's a boulevard.
Yeah.
Well, he learned that it was something he was good at.
Yeah.
And the turning point was when Bobby was like, "Yo, man, you're getting pretty good. Do you want to do this for real?" And he was like, "Yeah." And
Is this shit for real, Mr.
they
Stewart?
like when he was going and getting really good at it, and he was really fucking strong. He was fat. He was kind of a chubby kid, but like he was strong. And he's big, and Bobby would call his mom and tell him how good he was doing. And his mom was like, I don't know. Sounds like bullshit. His mom was just like real fucked up about it.
You know, who used to fuck people up though was my mom, Bertha. Oh my
I
god,
should have seen her.
she corrected a white man.
She had a right hook that fixed relations.
Well, I mean, I'm about to go back to making cream soda, but I was thinking I could get your kid into some kind of fisticuffs program or.
So Bobby tells Mike, like, listen, you keep your act right, and I want to take you to see this old boxing coach that I know,
Really?
this boxing trainer named Cus D'amato.
No,
Cus D'amato of course he had. He was like, tell me everybody who's good at boxing in jail.
I need you to find these are my minor leagues.
yeah,
My minor leagues.
You're my eyes on the ground.
You got my feet on the ground, feet on the street.
You gotta tell me the fucked up ones. The real
The
the guys that can hypnotize. I'm telling
Guys
you.
that were
The
desperate.
ones that can beat you up even though they're on Thorazine.
All the muscles
The
are
real
relaxed.
bums, right?
you
They
don't
smell
relax.
like shit even better, right?
You can't relax the mind.
So it's 1980. So Mike's like 13, 14. And Bobby drives him to the Catskills to this old musty gym with no windows.
Stinks.
Like, meeting center. It's above a police station.
oh, for the love of God.
And so Cus is there. His
Call
number
911.
two guy, Teddy Atlas.
Yeah.
And so Bobby and Mike spar for Cus and Teddy to watch. And Mike is beating Bobby around a little bit, and but Bobby catches him and bloodies his nose, so they stop it from him. But Mike's like, "Yeah, please, it doesn't hurt. It's just bleeding. Please keep going. Please keep going."
I'd like to fight this man.
But please, Mr. Cus D'amato, I'd like to keep going. And Cus is like, I've seen enough. And as Mike's getting like untaped and taking all the stuff, he whispers to Bobby, he goes, "That's the next heavyweight champion in the world."
Damn, Jesus.
And so they go to Cus's house for lunch. It's an old Victorian house on 10 acres in upstate New York, where he lives with his partner, Camille. And they're not married, but it's basically his wife, but they're not married.
Common law.
Common law, sure. She's an old Ukrainian woman, sweet as pie, but Cus like had tax problems and shit, and so he didn't want to like put them on her. So they never got married. Yeah.
What Cus would do is he adopted a lot of kids, but what he would do is he would adopt boxers. He would just.
There were other kids living in the house.
Yeah.
So the Catskills in New York. So the Adirondacks. If you're looking at New York City, I had to double check this, but I had just to make sure. So Buffalo is in Western New York.
And it's a shithole.
No, but I'll tell you, Western New York, some of the most beautiful country.
New York is a beautiful state.
And Northern New York too. The Adirondacks.
I'm telling you, man.
It's beautiful.
It's
It's just
absolutely
cold. When I
beautiful.
say it's a shithole, it's cold. That's all I mean. I'm a pussy.
Buffalo's depressing because you march through, on the way there, you march through all of the abandoned factories.
Steel mill, yeah, mill.
You march
like,
through 100.
NAFTA got rid
you
of.
march through 100 years of America that moved west.
Yeah.
But we talked about in Victoria Woodhull,
and-
just
yeah.
how New York, Buffalo was the West.
The West,
Yes.
yeah.
And
Which
then-
is crazy.
Yeah, because
It's called Buffalo.
they opened up the Erie Canal, and Buffalo was the West, and then all of a sudden it was Chicago, and then it was.
But we do have a lot of Western New York followers, and I do got to say,
It's beautiful.
going through there in the summer, I've never seen a more beautiful place in my life.
It's just it's just green trees, and there's these hills and mountains
And leaves.
It's wonderful. So Adirondack. So if you're leaving New York City, which is in the southeast corner of New York,
Yes.
It's a tiny, tiny little
Borough.
clitoris of the state.
yes,
the
yes,
most
yes. Yes.
heavily populated with nerves, but all the real meats back here.
It really shoots everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But New York is so big too that and that weird L kind of thing that it has.
Yeah.
When it goes west, it's a whole different animal.
Shit!
It's
Camera fell.
it's a whole different animal to when you go north, and it's Albany and Syracuse and all that type of shit. It's just it's a different thing. And they take on more of the what is stereotypically New Englandish, a lot more arts kind of like places, and people selling crafts on the front porch,
But also a little more red
how
politically.
I would suppose it would be
Not compared to other states, but it is,
but also still a lot of those country places like New England and Vermont, etc. obviously can be more left too.
Sure.
So from New York City in the southeast of New York, if you go north from there, that's the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
And if you go west,
never hung out there at all. Never been.
the lovely country again. Albany and Troy were Troy was the shirt collar capital of the world. And places like Rochester, where
gonna ask
Sam
about
Patch died. That was a huge milling place.
Yeah.
And then once all of that died,
It's now just business parks.
yeah, if you want a really nice wig in Rensselaer or Troy at 1 a.m, go to Night Owl. They have a lot of wigs.
Wigs?
That's kind of
At 1 in the
that might be
morning?
the best.
And wigs.
It's 1 a.m. I need a wig. Who do I call?
So there's some good breweries there, but there's not. It slowly fades away and gets closer to the city. Western New York is where the Catskills are. That's the place between Buffalo and New York City.
I see.
And that was something that I completely did not realize. I always assumed Buffalo was in the north for years, and then
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
because it's closer to Canada,
it's pretty-
without thinking that
Right.
Toronto is
Yeah.
at the edge of Western New York.
Yeah. Western New York, God, it's so gorgeous.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
First time I went up the East Coast, and it was just like fucking. I went through Tennessee, and I was like, I remember driving through it and being like, oh, this is the longest I've ever been driving without seeing like so much as a telephone pole. And then Western New York dwarfed that.
Yeah.
It was
It's a big state.
it's massive, man.
The Catskills and the boxing of the Catskills is something we talked about in the
Slats.
this is the Slats episode,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about doing a mini Patreon episode. It's from the. You ever notice how like all of the rivers are called like Schuylkill
Yeah.
because it's a Dutch phrase for
Right.
Greek.
Yes.
So Catskill is another thing. And,
Yeah. I wondered that about Bed-Stuy too. It's Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that like?
It's
is-
probably
that's
Dutch.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Because it was New Amsterdam before it was
Right.
New York.
Anyway, so
Peter Stuyvesant was the first mayor of.
right. That's
the
where it
Dutch
comes from.
Yeah.
So Mike, in the Catskills or Adirondacks?
He
Catskills.
goes to Cus D'amato's boxing gym in the Catskills,
Right.
which was the boxing gym for. It was the place to be.
Yeah, at that point, maybe not, but at one point, yes, because Cus did train Floyd Patterson.
He trained Floyd
Right.
Patterson. He trained Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, they had a connection. He wasn't Ali's like trainer during his heyday, but he did at one point train Ali.
Huh.
And now he's this old guy. And so they go back to his house and they have lunch. Cus didn't believe that Mike was only 13. He was probably like 175 pounds,
Right.
5'7".
Yeah, that's.
And he's like, "Come on, tell me what it
Come on,
is."
kid. What are you from Puerto Rico? Let's see your fucking birth certificate.
Yeah, you want to pitch in the World Series?
Yeah.
He must be having me on.
And he said, and he's got that, fucking New York accent. I think he's from the Bronx, actually. I think Cus was from the Bronx. And
Oh, for
he's
real?
like, yeah, you look splendid, kid. You're a great fighter. And he said, if you listen to me, I can make you the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. Champion. I'm
talking about a champion, kid.
And so he went to, he started going to Cus's every weekend to train out of the juvenile detention center.
Jesus.
And he went back, he rode the bus back and forth every weekend. Like, he's like, yo, Mike, talking to himself, like, this is your ticket out of hell. He's like, every weekend I would go, this was one step out of hell for me.
Damn.
And he dedicated himself. He was still a little shit,
Yeah.
but he knew the opportunity that had been presented to him.
Yeah.
I mean, Cus and Teddy had dealt with shits before. I mean, even,
And boxing has been traditionally, it's the sport of the lower class to make its way out.
It is, yes.
Jews, Indians, Irish,
But
it
also,
was always,
as far as
whatever the lowest class at the time
when
is.
you talk about the like the rehabilitative thing too, it's like, they talk about that thing again in the Panzram thing, where they let him out for the weekend, and it was like, okay, but what's he doing?
Right.
Is he striving for anything, or is he just going into town and fucking around? Because all that's going to do is let him go straight back into prison.
Right.
So it's like, you have to, if you're going to be like lax or like chill about, the detention shit, they still have to be going for something.
Right.
That is,
Structure.
yes, and also a goal.
Yeah.
But also, if anybody from that prison talks to Teddy or Cus, and they say good things,
Yeah.
I mean, that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cus gave him this old boxing encyclopedia, and he just, he tore it up. Like he was an extremist. Like, he just always went into everything manically.
Yeah. His thirst for knowledge
It's
is
really impressive.
Is really compulsive.
Yes, and he's like that with so many things. But of course with history, and especially history of boxing.
Yeah.
He would read about all those greats, and just like, he just fucking ate it up. And he eventually, and we'll get to it later, like, he finished Cus's sentences when he was quoting stuff about old boxers, and like, fuck, the kid fucking knows more than I do already.
No shit.
And there's a scene in this Watch Me Now doc where Tyson in the early 80s, at Teddy's house, they have all of these reels.
Yeah, and that was
All
what
these
was
old
so
boxing.
like time and place, like everything coalescing at the right time, was that Teddy and Cus had the, like, it was before YouTube.
Yeah.
And they had
They had the YouTube.
They had a world-class collection of fight films that nobody else had, or very few other people had.
All of the best boxers from the
From
40s,
Dempsey
50s,
downward.
60s,
Yeah.
70s, and they were all there on film. If you
Yeah.
wanted to watch them, and there's video of Tyson watching them, going, "Oh, okay."
You see, and he'll like tell you what's going on here. And I mean, he would read the training regimens of guys from the 1880s, and then compare it to the guys in the 1950s. He was like, fuck, this guy from the 1880s was training harder than the guy from the 50s.
Yeah.
He'd run 20 miles and then fight and stuff. Like, just, he is a real scholar of the sport.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
the
that's
exact same thing I think of every time I would read about Bobby Fischer reading about Paul Morphy.
yeah.
Just being like, here's the guy of his day, 50 years before me, best in the world. And
they both lost their fucking mind.
And it's Jack Dempsey or whatever, and just being like, oh yeah, and thinking about his style, and thinking about like all the advancements that have been made since then, and you can just see it was such a clearer thing, but also still really respect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please go on, because I'm going to interrupt you later.
Okay. At a certain point, he's no longer a fit for the detention center. They see his potential, and he doesn't necessarily need to be in the detention. Like, I think his time is up or whatever. And is he going to go back with his mom, who doesn't really give a shit? I mean, his mom's really fucked up and really destitute.
It's a bad place to be.
It's a bad place to be. So Cus and Camille adopt him. Basically,
one of the many
five other kids at the, maybe that, not even that many kids at the place now, but
he had adopted fighters.
Yes,
for years.
he had adopted, and I mean,
That's gotta be so weird. That's gotta be so weird to think that like you're like, oh, this new one he's got is actually gonna make it.
well, like
And we're not.
No, it was.
I was the first hope.
just even honestly, just watching
I think this is actually him becoming his guardian. I think later he actually adopts him.
Right.
Jesus
Okay. Yeah.
Christ. This is him becoming his guardian, his legal guardian. So his mom signs the paperwork over.
Everybody there, though, there's an understanding of like we're all boxers here.
Yes.
It's not necessarily competing against each other. It's competing for boxing.
Yeah, this is a live-in boxing camp.
Yeah.
With Obi-Wan.
The Russian thing.
Yeah.
It's the team.
We're fighting
No, you're at the house. You do the dishes. You fold the laundry. You take care of your room.
Yeah.
And you stay there.
Yeah, and there's chores. I mean, Cus like would wake up in the morning and set the table before anybody got up, and then you'd have to run. You'd have to eat breakfast, and you do your run and all that stuff. There was a regiment, and it was disciplining kids who didn't have structure often. But like Cus, Cus was this. You said he was into astrology. He was into all these, tried and true methods. And very old school methods, but also like he was into nutritional therapy and life positive affirmation, law of attraction stuff. He was into a lot of stuff that was off the beaten path as well. Like, I mean, he would mind fuck Mike. Like he had Mike pegged pretty quick. He would do the pimp thing, like where he'd sit you down, you tell him your life story, and then he'd fucking peel. He talked about peeling away the layers of an onion to get to you, and he fucking pegged Mike real quick.
Okay.
The first thing,
John,
I'm just because I mean, you know what? Continue, and then I'll probably get the answer to my question.
when he first started going to Cus wouldn't even let him box. No boxing.
that's a perfect move.
You don't get to box yet.
Right.
He just
Watch.
work out, like exercise and train, and just speed bag and jump rope and shit like that. Train, but no boxing. And then he would just sit him down and make him talk about his feelings and emotions.
God.
And he talked about the spiritual aspects of the game. And he would say things like, if you don't have the spiritual warrior within you, you'll never be a fighter. I don't care how big or how strong you are. He said, fear is the greatest obstacle to learning, but fear is your best friend. Fear is like fire. If you learn to control it, you let it work for you. If you don't learn to control it, it'll destroy you and everything around you. Like a snowball on a hill, you can pick it up and throw it or do anything you want with it before it starts rolling down. But once it rolls down and gets so big, it'll crush you to death. So one must never allow fear to develop and build up without having control over it, because if you don't, you won't be able to achieve your objective or save your life.
Very smart.
And then
Fire thing is
it's great.
Perfect comparison.
He would get into a deer in the field and adrenaline and allow the adrenal glands fire adrenaline into your bloodstream, allowing you to perform superhuman feats and just kind of building up this, basically telling Mike you can do superhuman things. He says, you think you know the difference between a hero and a coward, Mike? Well, there is no difference between a hero and a coward in what they feel. It is what they do that makes them different. The hero and the coward feel exactly the same, but you have to have the discipline to do what a hero does and to keep yourself from doing what the coward does. Your mind is not your friend, Mike. I hope you know that. You have to fight with your mind, control it, put it in its place. You have to control your emotion. Fatigue in the ring is 90% psychological. It's just the excuse of a man who wants to quit. The night before a fight, you won't sleep. Don't worry, the other guy didn't either. You go to the weigh-in, he'll look much bigger than you and calmer, like ice, but he's burning up with fear inside. Your imagination is going to credit him with abilities he doesn't have. Remember, motion relieves tension. The moment the bell rings and you come into contact with each other, suddenly your opponent seems like everybody else, because now your imagination is dissipated. The fight itself is the only reality that matters. You have to learn to impose your will and take control over that reality.
Yeah.
He was just the guy who thought in mythological terms.
He talks about.
But it's also very like sensei. It's also very
Without a doubt.
Well, yeah, but that's what just that.
It sounds like Obi-Wan.
Anybody, it's teacher, sensei, teacher. It's this idea of how do you impart a lesson in ways that is understandable. And one of the things that he talks about, he says, I don't know if it's him or Teddy, but it says you can't punch thinking about being hit.
Right.
You have to know you're going to be hit.
Yeah.
You can't think, oh, I'm going to get hit. The moment you start thinking about you being hit, then you're not thinking about what you're going to do.
Yes.
He'd sit Mike down. So you got to get out of your head, you got to transcend, focus, relax until you see yourself looking at yourself. tell me when you get there. And he talked about having out-of-body experiences in the ring.
Cus did.
Cus did. He would talk about, he said Cus claimed he could even control events using his mind. He told me about the time he used to train Rocky Graziano. And one time Cus was in Rocky's corner and Rocky was like fucking just getting real tired. He was just like, oh, fucking throw a right jab. And he did, and he won. He was like, fucking, I just felt like I willed it, you know?
Yeah.
And the guy went down, the rest stopped the fight. And, you know, he was just...
Marciano.
No, Graziano.
Grazie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but so that's...
He was much more thankful.
Yeah. Grazie.
Really
he was doing, you know, he had a book called Self-Mastery Through Conscious Autosuggestion, which is by this French pharmacist and psychologist named Emile Coué.
I'm also a pharmacist.
He was a guy who was like, if the words don't work, try this Librium. You know, he would every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Had to be like one of his, you know. And so, you know.
That's pretty tight.
So Cus is an interesting guy. Like
Very.
Yeah, he's worth his own.
I watched this thing because I was thinking about doing a profile on him for this weekend, and then I started looking to it, and I said, "There's no way that's enough time."
Yeah, there's not enough time. He's such an.
And he was like,
you know, there's a reason they gave the prequel trilogy to Obi-Wan, because they're like, well, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
What's his story?
and because of boxing, he's involved with all of these gangsters.
yes. Yeah, he was vehemently anti-corruption, egalitarian, socialist.
And also just
Hated paying taxes to a corrupt government. That's why he had tax problems in life.
Really?
He hated Reagan. Thought Reagan was the devil. Wow. He was training Floyd Patterson, and he got into like issues with fucking Roy Cohn. Whoa. And Roy Cohn stole Floyd Patterson away from him, basically.
Which is very reminiscent to what we'll see with Don King.
Exactly. In fucking Roy Cohn, notorious friend of Donald Trump and notorious AIDS death.
Now let me ask you.
Yeah, no, you're right though. You're right.
Let me ask you something.
No.
Do you think? Can I?
Yeah.
Do you think that Mike inherently was open to weird shit, or do you think being with Cus made him more open to weird shit?
I think people, you know, people like Mike Tyson are, I mean, he's special in some ways, but in some ways he's just like everybody else. And sometimes all you need is a little bit of daylight.
Yeah, You need something you can trust.
Yeah, like, you know, most people don't rob because of the thrill of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or because they like, I mean, have you ever done anything bad? Isn't it fucking scary as fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, if you do it enough times, there does become
Eventually
a thrill.
there becomes a thrill, but the first time you steal, it's usually for...
It's really scary.
Or, you know, anytime you do something for the first time, it's usually something out of passion or desperation.
Yeah.
And then eventually you can become, you know, addicted to that, and then it becomes its own thing. But
yeah.
Sometimes you just want somebody to hug you.
Yes.
Sometimes you just want an opportunity. You just need a chance. I think Mike is an extremist. I think he's obsessive. I think he's compulsive. And he's
Yes,
a maniac.
I think it's inherent in him
And yes,
to be somewhat like
voracious.
Cus. I think they kind of actually like met and realized that they were like
Perfect for each other.
kind of into the same shit.
Well, you know, it's very much like Cus saying.
But Cus mind wiped him. Like Cus, we'll get to more of it.
Sure. Okay.
But it's just a perfect match made in, you know, the books of myth and fairy tale for me.
And you know, so in this Watch Me Now documentary, there's a scene, it's a 5-minute scene where Tyson is just jumping rope. And Cus just goes, "You're not thinking about now. You're not thinking about fighting. Your mind is somewhere else."
Yeah.
He's just jumping rope. And Cus is going,
And he's jumping rope fast.
"You're not here. You're not here right now. I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell." And, you know, Tyson's like 15, 16.
Jesus.
But also, you know, at that age, you don't have the shield. You don't have the phony. You're not faking it. It's obvious. It's obvious to people who know you. And Cus is a guy who has met so many people who are coming up through shit, and boxing is their way out. And this, Teddy Atlas was his trainer. Teddy Atlas is a guy who was he worked under Cus, and he knocked everybody out. And then Cus was like, "Why are you wincing?" And eventually they realized that Teddy had he had a spinal problem. Because Cus recognized that it's like you don't want to. This is hurting you. And there's another guy that is in that. This guy Kevin Rooney.
Yeah,
who
they
would
become Tyson's trainer eventually.
And he's in this too. And he's just this young guy.
And they were friends growing up. Rooney and Atlas.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Really?
And he's just like he's bad at boxing. And Cus goes. I think it's Rooney in this. It doesn't say, but I think it's Rooney. It looks just like Rooney. And it's like. And Cus is like, well, everybody said he'd be a terrible fighter, but this is the one guy who followed his theories.
Right.
And he became a decent fighter even though he was terrible because he followed his theories. And there's this belief and understanding of this is how things work and this is how the best way to do things.
Yeah, kind of the failed experiments on the way to success.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that fucked up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But it's true.
Isn't it fucked up that it works?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and God, nature, the universe, kind of it damns you with age because your body is no longer able to do the things that work.
Right.
And if only I had your body and all the things that I know
every
now.
horror movie is like, I'm making you like I was.
Yeah. Youth is wasted on the young.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got everything. They know nothing.
Exactly. Cus was. He
Because
always fought for the little guy. To shout liar at the TV when Reagan was on. Money was a thing. Money is something to throw the back off the back of trains. And he saw that he didn't want Mike to go back to Brooklyn because he thought he might get stabbed or go back to jail, and so he moves in with him instead of going back, coming to Cus's 3 days a week or whatever, going to school and coming on the weekends. He moves in with Cus.
Okay.
So he's his guardian, and he straight up moves in. But he would tell Camille he'd be like, I think this is the one I've been waiting for my whole life.
Yeah.
That's his wife. Or common law.
Yeah.
She's Ukrainian, no tax problems. Well, this is the one, huh? Mm-hmm. You said that about the four boys.
This is the first person, one of the first people. There's a gravitas to an old white man when you're a young black man.
Yeah.
In Mike's situation, I'm not saying that for everybody, but in Mike's situation, this is,
Well, it's the Lorna.
Right.
If you've grown up knowing about Lorna, then you kind of go maybe some person in a position of power
and
will be kind to me.
There's the bullshit white. It's some white savior shit, but in this case for him, it's so much deeper than that, right?
Well, because he can go to that gym in the Catskills and he can look at the wall and see Cus D'amato and Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, Cus D'amato.
And you can go, oh, okay.
And but Cus figured him out. So he would say things like, they think they're better than you, Mike. Do you think they're better than you? I don't think they're better than you. You afraid of white people? Are you afraid of people with beards and mustaches? Because you shouldn't be. You better not be one of those. I've had a lot of black fighters that were afraid of hitting white people. I don't want you to be afraid of hitting white people. It's and he just had
so you go after insecurity. And stuff.
Yeah, but he would also build Mike up. I mean, he would say shit like, "Gosh, I think I have some stuff."
No, but even doing that is him building, right?
Well, you got to do it too, right? I mean,
if you listen to me, you'll reign with the gods. You'll supersede all the greats. You'll make everyone forget about them. They're not even close to what you are. You are a colossus among men. Yeah. He would say shit like that to him. Yeah. I mean, he would just build him up. You will be immortal. One month of a championship belt is a million times more worth than a lifetime of obscurity. Wow. You're reading about this guy in the book who has half a page, but you're reading about him. Everyone else is dead.
Right, but then you also have to manage the humility to be trained and directed and taught.
And that's what, anytime Mike would win, it was good. Wasn't perfect. Wasn't perfect. His hands were sloppy. He would after a fight, he never complimented him. He was always picking out what was wrong.
So, do you think that? Because Mike, to this day, is fairly humble guy.
Who?
Tyson.
Well, after a number of things have happened to him, and he's gone through things. But yes, we'll get to more. We'll get to these things.
Yeah.
He continued peeling him away. He was a master of psychology, self-taught. Cus.
Do you think he was sociopathic in his manipulation?
No.
Is I guess what my main question.
No.
Because it's, I mean, like
No.
the hypnotizing.
But-
There was, yeah, right.
Yeah, he took
Hypnotizing.
We'll get to it. We'll get to
I
it.
know, but I'm just saying, like,
But what do they do to professional athletes all the time? You think they don't do that?
sure, and also,
Do you know what kind of horse shit professional athletes go through?
I mean,
despite the millions of dollars. I mean, they shoot them up with shit. They work them. They get paid pennies on the dollar to what their owners and managers make. Like,
yeah.
they are putting in the sports psychology, them running. They're working. This is what happens with racehorses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at least with the humans, you don't know what the racehorses want, but you know that these athletes want to be the best.
Yeah.
And so you're helping them be the best.
I think sociopathic would be sending him back to where he came from. That would be
Right. So that's
a nightmare.
That is valid, super valid. But I wonder in that way that we were talking about, like how when they had the sex scenes on The Deuce, that they had an intimacy coordinator.
That every production has him now.
Yes. I wonder if with young, desperate athletes, if there should be some, because you can
Probably,
look to your agent and your manager. They all get a percentage.
Cus wasn't
So
making
whatever-
any money. He's an amateur at this point.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, whatever fucking shit they would have to go through, they'd be like, well, you got to take that because I'm getting a commission.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand that.
It's one of those things where it's just like, okay,
But if he's his guardian, we can have the state tell you how to parent your kid.
okay, yeah, but also fathers can molest their daughters. So
They
what is that?
can, but they shouldn't.
Yes,
But
they should
but
not.
nobody shows up and makes sure every night that they're not.
No, I'm just saying that there is, there's a lot to
It's
be.
not an employee relationship. Are you saying? I mean, let's not bring the law into this. Let's talk about what you're getting at. What you're getting at is what he is doing. Fucked up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's making him get beat up and beat up. I mean, listen, I've had coaches that made me do shit I didn't want to do all the time. I ran till I puked. I did shit till I puked all the time.
Yeah.
And my mom got really mad about it. But like, here's the thing. I told her, like, I wanted to do this.
Yes.
They're still wearing helmets.
I'm not concerned about him making him the ideal like warrior. I'm concerned about the long-term effects of whatever he's going to do.
I think he recognized that any sort of mind games he was playing on Mike would only benefit him in the long run.
Yeah.
For example, he would. Mike had trouble doing. Sometimes he neglected doing his chores around the house, and he would say things like, "Fuck, what did he say?" He said, "You just find joy in doing the chore."
Yes.
And Mike's like, "How do I do that?" He goes, "Well, listen, because doing something you have to do, like you love to do it, is good conditioning for someone aspiring toward greatness."
That is the best advice. That is
Do something you don't like doing like you love it.
Yes.
And that is everything else will be easy.
Yes.
And he never had to be reminded to take out the trash again. Mike was somebody, it seems like, from not just what I've read in his own account, but other things. It was somebody that he didn't need to get told things too many times to straighten up his act when it was from the right person with the right motivation.
Yeah, no.
And I was that way too in high school.
Absolutely.
Just my own person. Like, when I had one or two times my coach told me, like, "Yo, don't do that because this is the reason why, and you're better than that." And it was like I leveled up as a person.
Yeah.
Like immediately on certain things. It changed the way I looked at everything, and I can't believe it took some guy who wasn't my dad to tell me. But oftentimes it works better when it's not your dad.
You're told to do a thing and you go, why? And then they say, do this thing because, and then someone who you trust tells you, don't do this thing because it's bad. And you go, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And it because you also, you want that validation and.
Right.
And you also, what you're playing when you change in that moment, you're playing a part with someone that you trust and like. And so you become a team almost. You changing is you working with them.
Yes.
And
you compromise.
Yeah.
Compromise.
And also, when you're getting told to doubt things that you accept as fact, like dealing with insecurity.
Yes.
It also inherently teaches you critical thinking, right?
Yeah.
Questioning things. Which is a lot of the reason why people will not want to do fucking, because they're like, why do I have to do it? And you go like, well, just do it because like it would make, it would make your spouse happy if the fucking kitchen was clean.
Yeah.
So do it and be happy about your spouse being happy.
And if you have to ask, you should be embarrassed.
Yes.
But you asked, so I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Because everything will be better.
Because everything matters.
Yes.
And
Everything does matter.
And so I think what I'm worried about, subtly in my head, about him being manipulated, I think Cus probably already knew that Mike's head was a difficult thing to get around. Because he'd already learned so much about critical thinking.
I think he broke him down and built him from the ground up.
And Mike wasn't the first guy like this that Cus had dealt with. He was the most talented guy like this Cus had ever dealt with.
Yes, but also like his inhalation of all the knowledge of the old champs and stuff that exists to this day. If you talk about Mike and like, he's a complete boxing scholar.
And Cus, I mean, there's no way he didn't recognize the fact that this guy is sucking all this in.
Yeah.
Like he said about him being a cancer. He's like, your hand on the stove. Yeah. Hand on the stove can also translate to watching every single reel of every fighter.
And you know what you don't forget? When you burn your hand.
Yeah.
Like yes, those type of people need to do that to know it, but they also never forget it.
The hard-headed have to feel it to believe it. Yeah. Most Def said
what?
That. The hard-headed have to feel it to believe it.
That's right.
Yeah. Most Def said that. Yeah.
Talib Kweli.
I just think I'm like, probably like, being like protective, like as I hear it in my head, but also I think I'm, by virtue of doing that, I'm also underestimating how smart Mike is.
No, I'm glad you're asking the question.
Yeah, and how good-natured Cus might be.
Yes.
And also how bad Mike had it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's making somebody into a weapon is a very fucking, dastardly, dangerous thing if you go about it anyway, irresponsibly.
Sure, but and maybe we'll take a break after this, but I know people that went into the military and they came out 1,000,000 times better.
Right.
And that act, what Mike went through and what some men and women and transgendered folks as well,
fantastic,
go into the, it's, for the lack of a better word, an initiatory or mystical experience. It's one of the few we have left as people, like civilized people.
Rites of passage.
Right. And those things are important to run you through the gauntlet, and you learn something about yourself in these trials. We're not all Luke Skywalker. We all can't fucking fight our dad inside a tree. To realize that we are he.
Yeah, that we're him.
Yeah. So you go through things that are uncomfortable and fuck you up, but when you come out the other end, you look, when Michael looks back on this stuff, he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not like, he fucked me up and I'm a Manchurian candidate.
No, he appreciates.
I know. I mean, he says like Cus was my God multiple times in this book.
Yeah.
And he like, I have this theory and we'll get to it later, but I think, it's mad Obi-Wan shit because it's like he is immortal now.
It is. Because I would say if Mike could have a conversation with anybody, it would be with Cus.
I think he has conversations with Cus every day.
Yeah.
I think Cus didn't die in Mike's eyes. And we'll get to that after this break.
Okay. And we're back.
Hey.
Hi.
Everything in my teeth?
No, you look incredible.
Thank you.
Wow, you have really nice teeth, Aaron. My bottom teeth are all fucked up. We'll get to the Patreon.
A little janky. I didn't have braces or nothing.
Yeah.
I wasn't any one of these jailbait point styles.
Too, man.
My dentist keeps saying, "My man, do you want some
adult braces?"
Yeah.
He says, "My man."
Yeah.
And then he gives you smoke on this peace pipe.
No, it's we'll get
my man.
This is a Patreon.
Soul brother.
No, not even
He's a white guy with like a balding dreads.
You don't want a retainer or nothing.
He's a white guy with Jesse Ventura long hair.
That would have been
He's
something.
sick. He's sick, and he's a pervert. He's disgusting.
My man, would you like to get some adult braces? I was once the governor of Minnesota. I've got a satellite uplink to Amazon.com, and I can get you some adult braces. The cream will rise to the top. Cream in the ground.
Oh boy.
Anyways, so
yes,
we're talking about the
Cus D'amato.
Cus D'amato.
so he's training Mike not only physically and not only psychologically, but mentally and spiritually, right?
Yes.
And Mike really, in the book, it's like he's just got this total recall. There's just the book is full of phrases and life lessons from Cus, and we could spend a whole episode going on that. And we'll
I think
talk
it's
about
also
the picture.
the retention of it is also
A testament to Mike's obsession.
Yeah.
and also that it was the thing of like before you make it is always the challenging part and the interesting part, and that's why you remember every fucking sparring session with Cus in attendance, but fucking if he's doing coke with Alec Baldwin, he doesn't remember it. Yeah.
Or is that? But it's the hero's journey.
Right.
He is in the underworld. He has met his master. His master has taught him, and now he is going to re-enter the world.
But not without a few refusals of the call and a few trials and tribulations.
Right. That's right.
So, Cus, I told you that he gave him these, life lessons and explained why the importance of doing the chores because they're good training for greatness, these things like that. And so Mike started just in the same way that he straightened up at juvie, in the same way that he dove in headfirst into the encyclopedia of boxing, and he also he would just start waking up before Cus and setting the table, and then go on his run, 3-mile run in the morning, and then come back, and Cus would be pissed.
Really?
Yeah, he'd be like, "Who set my table?" And Cus has got a cataract. He's half deaf. Who set my table? And Mike goes, "I did, Cus." And Cus would be like cooking like fucking whole sides of bacon and eggs and shit.
Sure.
And
But it's that thing that makes you feel good, and this guy's taking you away from it. You're supposed to be the first one awake. And now this kid that you're training, the protege, he's seeing, I get Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance.
in fact, Norman Mailer gave Cus the book Zen and the Art of Archery because he said, "You're a Zen master and you don't even know it."
Whoa.
They were friends.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
World War II vet, Norman Mailer also. Along with Vonnegut and fucking...
Mailer wrote a bunch of stuff about Ali and Frazier.
Yeah. But speaking of Ali, go ahead.
But it is a thing where you go like, the kid is understanding what I'm telling him matters.
Or even if he doesn't understand it, he's trying. He's going for it.
Yeah, I mean, initially he's pissed, but I think he understands it's working.
By virtue of doing it, you're getting it, right?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's a kid. Sometimes they just do things because they think that's the thing to be done. But also that can be a way of learning.
Yeah, I mean, if you are up before your teacher / master / sensei, and you're seeing everything they do and how they prepare and how they enjoy it,
right, how they enjoy it.
The chore,
not just the act, but the feeling,
and pleasing you, and Cus is at a point where it's not like Mike is a threat to him.
No.
Cus is beyond. Cus is in his toy. Cus is Cus is 80.
There's no threat.
It's not like he's a 40-year-old and he's threatened by this young man threatening his throne. He's just he's beyond that. So I think he's pissed in the beginning because who set my table? But I think he understands that he's reaching the kid, right?
And also even just that act itself can motivate because the kid notices. Maybe he says that with a way that is antagonizing, but with a wink.
Yeah.
Like, who set my table, wink?
Who could have done this?
This is my way of...
great boxing champion.
Exactly. It's my way of complimenting you with...
Right.
Well, it's that
recognizing
it. It's that first time, too, that you kind of trump your dad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're proud of you.
Yeah, yeah. But they're also kind of like, wait, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I'm used to complaining about this.
But also, I mean, Cus has been through so many boxers. You have to imagine that he's not viewing Tyson as God. He's viewing Tyson as another.
And also, his ideology is concrete, and he's made it. Whether anybody that comes up under him,
I mean, if Tyson fails, it doesn't matter.
Is a champ or not? Yeah, his viewpoint is still the same. He is 80, and that's he's everything he believes is fucking locked in, and that's the way it is. If somebody makes it under him, that's fine, but it's not going to change.
Right.
You mentioned Ali a second ago. It's around this time in 1980, so Mike's 14.
Ali's a mustache.
Ali's got a mustache. Yeah.
That's bad news.
This is bad news. And I mean, it's 1980.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And they all go to Albany to watch the Ali Holmes fight. And
yeah.
it's him trying to, they used to be sparring partners.
Yeah. And Holmes feels bad about it too.
Yeah. You see the talk between them, and Ali. You can see Ali doesn't even buy his own bullshit at that point when he's like shit talking. He's like, no, I'm the greatest, and no, I'm gonna knock you out, and it's just not the same, right?
The people with me said that I would be great at this,
right? And so famously, Ali gets the shit kicked out of him by Holmes, and but Cus had a phone call with Ali the next day.
Day after the fight.
Yeah.
Shit.
And Cus is telling like, how'd you let that bum beat you? He's a bum, Mom. He's a bum. No, he's a bum. Don't tell me that. He's a bum. Why'd you let that bum hit you like that? And just like every time Mike heard him say bum, it just like cut to his core and shit. And he started crying. Tyson.
Yeah.
He's 14 and he's just, he's seeing Ali. He saw Ali get his ass beat, and he's seen his hero call him. It just, there's so many things that we can dissect about that, but you can understand why it hurts Mike to see that, right? Yeah. And then Cus is like telling Mom, he's like, Mom, I got this young black kid with me. He's just a boy, but he's gonna be heavyweight champion of the world, and his name is Mike Tyson, and talk to him for me, Muhammad, please. If you do that for me, I'd like you to talk to him and tell him to listen to me. And so Cus gives Tyson the phone, 14-year-old Tyson with, probably 38-year-old Ali, maybe 40-year-old Ali at that point. Yeah. And Mike says, I'm sorry for what happened to you. And Ali says, I was sick. I took some medicine and it made me weak, and that's how Holmes beat me. Let me see. I was sick. I took some medicine and it made me weak, and that's how Holmes beat me. I'm going to get well and come back and beat Holmes. And Tyson goes, don't worry, champ. When I get big, I'm going to get him for you.
Damn.
That's nice.
And,
That's nice.
Bro, yikes. Fuck.
And, it's this weird, like, passing of the torch kind of thing. They're both heavyweights, but totally different, totally different styles, totally different swaggers and all that. Cus wanted Mike to be, ferocious, ferocious in fashion.
Yeah.
He would say stuff, like, oh God, we'll get to it, but he really wanted Mike to be this, stoic. He didn't like it anytime Mike touched gloves with the guy before the fight. He's like, just stare at him and just, strike fear into their hearts. This is a psychological game. You're a fighter. Boxing is the art.
Well, I think ferocious fashion might have even been a Cus phrase.
It
because
was.
He had the thing about the peekaboo style that he had.
And so the peekaboo style was this style of boxing that hadn't been around for like 50 years.
But Ali,
where
also,
you hid and you blended in with the ropes and the canvas.
No. What you did is you kept
you wore stripes.
You wore clown makeup and you looked like a boxing ring.
Ha! What you did?
What I would do is I would dress like the ref, and then I would just start beating on people.
I would paint stripes on myself.
Yeah, on my face.
I'm here.
I was here. It's a joke.
No.
So
But that is how it worked.
Defensive boxing, not in the peekaboo style, is you back away, and you and you counterpunch. But peekaboo is you hold your arms close, right? And what you're doing is you're ducking your head behind your arms.
And you're making a small target.
And you're making a small target.
So you don't have to back up.
And then you're counterpunching from that, but you're also walking towards the other fighter while you're doing this, because your counter punches are an offensive punch because by walking towards them and closing distance, they're going to start to punch you, and then you're reacting to it. And this is a simplification, but this is the idea. And you're keeping, it's about keeping your pelvis kind of like aligned with theirs so you can slip side to side. But what you're doing is you're trying to find ways to punch them when they can't punch at the same time.
Because they've got one arm is already out.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, and Mike, and especially with cousin Mike, and we'll get into some more of the boxing science of it too. Like, it was throwing two punches that felt like one. It was a lot of like hitting kidneys and then uppercuts, and then it was
It was a lot of hide
flurry.
and seek.
He was
peekaboo.
Yeah. I see you.
One of the things is if they can't throw a punch, throw a punch. You throw a punch if they can't throw a punch. If you have them in a place where they can't throw a punch, throw a punch. And keep throwing those punches. And it'd be two punches. If you can throw two punches and then slip, and then duck.
I want to see two punches.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but one of the things was that a lot of on Cus D'amato's obituary, the LA Times, they said a lot of people said this was a bad style because you couldn't throw punches with power. But you see with a guy like Tyson, out of that position, he threw.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of all power.
Yeah, and it's a shorter distance, and you're not on your back foot. You're leaning into it.
Yeah, balls of your feet.
It just doesn't look like a big wind up.
Right.
But that compact, tight, use your torso. You're leaning into it. They're walking into you. There's just so much more force going.
Yes. The momentum is the same thing that you see like when they're like trying to show like. The highly trained seasoned warriors like in Game of Thrones. It's like, here's your shield, but then when you're fucking like when you poke with your spear, it's like it's all thrust. You know, it's like that kind of thing where you go like, yeah, defend yourself, but then also like when you're gonna hit.
Yeah, and so when you make your punch, you're also dodging when you make your final punch, you are ducking and slipping while you're making that final punch, and you get out of their range. But also, if you punch them in the body, then they curl down.
Yeah,
Open
body
start crumbling.
Right, and so there's Tyson, Ali. The peekaboo is basically Ali of rope-a-doping, but Tyson is the perfect guy.
And also because he's not 6'3".
Yeah.
He was, he was like 5'10", 5'9".
He's the guy.
And eventually 225 pounds, but
Gonna hit the body.
Yeah, I mean, when he's 16 years old, he's 210 pounds.
yeah, he was a pit bull. But anyway, they both, at this point, once Mike started kind of being this, I'm waking up early, sitting at the table, then going for my run, then coming back for breakfast, and then all that stuff, they kind of knew, they were both in this kind of race against time. Because Cus is an old man. He was already not in excellent health.
Yeah, who would have guessed?
Give me the maple syrup, kid. Since you're up anyway.
They were both extreme. They were perfectly extreme for each other. Like, they're in upstate New York, or Western New York.
But, yeah.
If it snowed, they'd just train indoors. And he would just stay up all night shadowboxing in his room.
Yeah.
He would watch film for 10 hours a day. He'd be up all night watching film.
Yeah.
And he'd wake up the whole house. And my Cus would be like, "What the hell's going on?" He's like, I'm up here watching movies. I'm watching the film.
I was in the theater.
And Cus sometimes would be like, "What the fuck? What's that noise? Who's here?" And it's like, "It's me, Cus. I live here."
Yeah.
Lucky Marciano.
I was watching Marciano get his ass handed to him.
I was watching this Italian person fist this black dude. Boxing. You crazy, Cus. I like you. You crazy.
Smells like shit up here.
Does he go to any lengths to find out who Cus is, where Cus comes from?
He tells you. He's the one that tells you what's up with Cus. Because Cus, other guys would tell him about it, and Cus would tell him too. But there's a bunch about Cus in the book that Mike tells you about.
Right.
But also, like, Mike is now 14, 15. He's going through puberty. And so he's breaking out. He's a little chubby kid. Yeah. He's an extreme eater too. He'd stay up late and eat ice cream or fucking leftovers and shit. And he's also worried.
54 slices of American cheese.
And
it's
ketchup.
A record. It's a record.
That's all.
I don't see a downside.
He would also like talk. He'd worry about never having a girlfriend and stuff, and because girls fucking beat him up with jump ropes and shit.
Yeah.
And so Cus sends one of the guys out to like the sporting goods store to come back, and they come back with those like little mini baseball bats.
Yeah.
And he goes, Mike, you're gonna have so many girls after you one day. You're gonna have to need this to beat them away. And he gives him the bat, and he tells him just give it a minute. And so Mike's like, after that, all I did was jerk off and train.
Jeez.
Jerk off and train. And, it was...
Feels so good.
Hey, Camille.
Dexter.
It was the peekaboo style. Cus was big on like boxing as entertainment. A successful fighter must not only win, but win in an exciting manner. He must throw punches with bad intentions.
Bad intentions.
Bad
that
intentions
is the thing.
was his
Always
thing.
throw punches with bad intentions.
What does that mean?
What do you, John?
What do you think it means?
Don't get upset with me.
If you're going to punch somebody, you don't go, I hope I knock this guy out. You throw a punch that you don't care what happens to that guy. You're throwing it with bad intentions.
Okay. All right.
And so he gave him more of these, boxing psychology books, training old, like reading for the guys from the 1880s and the 1950s. He started finishing Cus's sentences whenever he would say things because he read all this stuff times and over, and he was just a fucking black hole of just sucking all this stuff in and retaining it. He loved Jack Johnson probably more than anybody. He tells the story about Jack Johnson being like just a fucking superstar black fighter in the 20s.
Yeah.
And super rich and married to a white woman and really as accepted as a black fighter could be in the day, and moneyed. And like he tells the story about like the time like Jack Johnson was driving across the state to go to one of his matches. And the cop pulls him over and is like, it's a $10 speeding ticket. And so he gives him 20. He goes, keep the 20 because on the way back, I'm going to be speeding.
Yeah.
Damn.
He,
As, Tyson, he might have been, when he was there, he might have been the only black fighter in that house.
he probably was. And then,
Really?
and it was also, at a certain
they were
point, he's
young
not
black
adopting
kids.
any more kids. Like he knows
he's old,
on his way out, and
Sure.
this is Mike's the one, right?
Yeah.
So
He wasn't the only black guy in the gym, but at the house.
So you don't take on any more kids, and you kind of now are.
And what about Camille, the Ukrainian woman?
She's a sweet woman. Cus, Cus was just so. He was savage in the way that he was psychologically manipulative, but it was all in such this cinematic, mythological. He would say shit like about this one fighter, Henry Armstrong. He said that he would break his opponent's will, destroy his spirits, make all his causes a lie.
Wow.
And Mike was like, make all his causes a fucking lie? Like, Jesus
I
Christ.
can't
So you talking about all his aspirations and
Everything that he known to be a god for the honest truth.
like long-standing causes and all that. That's all bullshit, Cus.
Man, you are one thick motherfucker, Cuth.
I would take
Tell
this
you
trash
what,
out,
man.
but I don't even feel like it.
I like punching people in the kidneys, but taking away a man's crusades is quite something else. I must say.
You pretty cruel, Cuth. I've dealt with some pretty sketchy characters, and I have to say, you take the cake, pal.
I just like giving people CTE. I'm not trying to deny their life's work or nothing, Cus. You duplicitous motherfucker, man.
More
I
tea,
must say.
please. But also, the same way that he told Mike that he'd be a colossus among men, he also knew when to cut him down. And that kind of sucks, but this is what a boot camp is. It's breaking somebody down and building up in the way that you want them to be, but also like taking into consideration who they are. So,
Well, yeah, like what do you want?
Right.
In yourself.
Right, and I'll help you get there.
The humility to know when you're wrong and accept being wrong.
Right, so he would tell him, like, you're getting lazy, you're getting fat, your emotions get the best of you, you're a bum, you're a tomato can.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
You got a lisp, kid. Come on. I can't hear shit you're saying.
But like, so they would, but he desperately sought Cus's approval, and he'd have these stories about like, Cus would, he was half deaf, right? So he'd like fall asleep with the TV on, like in a chair or whatever, and be fucking loud as fuck. And they'd like sneak up. He'd think like Mike was asleep or out, whatever. And so like they would sneak up, and like one of the other boxer kids would be there talking to Cus as he's like half asleep and shit. And he'd be like, ask Cus if he thinks I punch hard. And they'd be like, and so they'd be like a commercial break or whatever. And they'd be like, Cus, you think you think Mike punches hard? And he's like, oh, boy, I think he punches hard. I think he could knock down a brick fucking wall. And you could see that it meant like everything to Mike to hear that. But he can't let him know that, right?
Right.
They fucking hypnotized him.
Yeah. He hypnotized him.
He hasn't been doing it yet, but
That's amazing, bro.
You hypnotized me. I hypnotized you.
So now he's like 15, 16, and he starts like, now they do sparring. He's a fucking animal. He's a beast. He's hitting. He's sparring with adults.
Yeah.
So they start doing these smoker fights, which are unsanctioned, illegal boxing matches, and they're called smokers because they're in, underground gyms where the air is thick with smoke.
With
everyone's
cigarette smoke.
Yeah, everyone's smoking.
The guy's
in there.
betting on it.
Everyone's betting.
20 kids on that guy.
There's no medics. There's no ambulance waiting. If the crowd didn't like you, they didn't boo. They just started fighting each other to show you how it was done.
The kid can't catch his breath with all this stogie smoke.
His first smoker, he's 14, and he's fighting some 18-year-old Puerto Rican with an afro.
Nice.
And in the third round, Mike knocks him into the bottom rope, and his mouthpiece flies out into the crowd.
Wow.
Guy's out cold. Mike didn't know what to do, so he just like rose up and threw his arms up and then stepped on the guy. And Cus was like, "Get your goddamn foot off, but you can't fucking step on the kid. You're fucking nuts."
Jesus Christ.
And then they just start going to smokers all over the Northeast. They just like smoke all these fucking fights. Sometimes like Teddy at Atlas would get into fights there, because they'd break out in mayhem. And he said like one time somebody started saying some shit and Teddy started fighting him and he fucking smashed the guy's head in with the bottom of the marble statue trophy that they were gonna pass out. And if there were cops there, it would be charged with attempted murder. I'm telling you.
Jesus Christ.
So in Cus's camp, Teddy Atlas and Kevin Rooney were the last guys before Tyson, kind of, who were his guys.
Yeah.
And Teddy was knocking everybody out until he hurt his back, and then he became a trainer. And Cus was like, "This guy's going to be an amazing
10
trainer."
years older than Mike.
Yeah.
So they were in their 20s.
And Rooney was he was about 6 years older than Tyson, and a good fighter, but also he had the Teddy Atlas thing where it's like, this guy's a better trainer than he is a fighter.
Right. And Freddie Roach is that way too. Freddie Roach was not a good boxer.
Right.
And by virtue of him not being a good boxer, he became the best trainer.
And Cus noticed that. He's like I said before, like he's noticing Teddy's like feeling pain about stuff, and he's like, okay, well, you can't do that. Yeah. Oh, or you're picking stuff up.
Yeah.
And Kevin Rooney was not a good fight. Was a decent fighter,
but not gifted.
Yeah, he was a good fighter because he believed in Cus and he followed Cus to the letter, and that's why he became a good fighter. But everybody was like, he's not going to be a good fighder. And then he became a trainer, and he became Tyson's trainer.
Yes.
Him and Teddy.
We'll find out why.
Yeah, yes.
So they're going to all these smokers. Teddy's getting fights. Mike's fucking dominating everybody. So now it's 1981. So Mike is 15, and he's going for his first, official amateur championship kind of tournament, and it's the Junior Olympics, and they're in Colorado.
And they're wearing those little soft helmets and stuff.
So they go to Colorado, and Cus wanted him to be a menacing villain type figure. So he's doing his best thing. No handshakes, just sneers at his opponents. He won all of his fights by knockout in the first round.
Damn.
And he won the gold medal by knocking out Joe Cortez in 8 seconds.
A record.
He's 15. He's 15 years old. 15 years old. 8 seconds. Gold medal. Boom. Done.
I got $15 in it.
I thought this was the Olympics.
What kind of bullshit? Is this a Special Olympics I'm in? I know that I have a list, but I'm no longer retarded, as verified by the state of New York. They had me doped up on Thorazine, and I can tell you I did not lift any hammers. The Thorazine is not a publication for those in Asgard. I can tell you that.
Let me tell you something. If Drano doesn't put me down,
what do you think? What chance do you think Thorazine
I don't think tranquilizer is gonna do anything. The
Liquid Plumber.
Yeah, excuse me.
CLR.
Is Liquid Plumber a guy fighting?
Drano. Who's that? Is he a wrestler?
Clubber Lang.
I'm a liquid thumb. I'll stick my thumb in the motherfucker. I'll suck the motherfucker.
This profile is brought to you by Dodgers Sailor Jerry. Not as bad as Drano,
It's not.
but it'll work.
So
I
also
drank mine already.
also around this time is what Rocky 2.
Oh, that's fucking interesting, man.
81.
I mean,
Yeah,
Rocky
Rocky's
3
77 or
is like
something, right?
82, I think.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, we talked about this the other day that like Rocky came out like right around Star Wars and shit.
Yeah. Well, I think Rocky 3 is like 82 or 83.
Rocky 3 is
Where he's fighting Clubber Lang.
Yeah.
But Rocky 2 is like 81, 80.
Yeah, because the first one is what?
He's all cut up, shredded.
not the one, but the two. You know?
82.
So Mike's 15. He's one of the JOs.
Yeah.
All of his friends in Brownsville are in jail or dead. He's got no one really his age up in the Catskills. You know, he is going to junior high still, but
It's not Saved by the Bell.
yeah. So and school seems a bit of a distraction, but Cus understands that, you know, his education is important. And I think, you know, kind of one of the things that my dad told me is don't let school get in the way of your education.
That's very smart.
Right. And so Cus was like, yo, read these books in my library, not just the boxing shit. Read I got a bunch of other shit that you might like. You know, because school is, especially to a guy like Mike, and to a degree, I'm not comparing myself to Mike Tyson, but like when
late.
school becomes a job, it's not fun, even though you're reading good shit.
Right.
Sometimes in school you read good stuff.
Yeah.
But because it becomes an assignment, well, I don't want to do it. It's not. I don't get to read for my enjoyment and then take it in the way I do now, right?
I don't want my enjoyment to be graded.
Right. Yeah. So, but it's important to have, you know, guidance in certain things. But so Mike, you know, he dives into his library and he's reading Oscar Wilde, he's reading Charles Darwin, he's reading Tolstoy, Machiavelli, Dumas, Adam Smith.
Machiavelli?
At 15 and 16.
Yeah.
And he's like, I loved history. I loved Alexander the Great. And he's like, reading history taught me human nature. It allowed me to see into the hearts of men. It gave me a better understanding of myself. And it's like,
well, the art of war, you know, starts like kind of like bridging the gap between, you know, boxing theory and history and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of like, you know, just dive into The Prince and all that type of shit. But also the thing,
then, you know, he loved what else? Count of Monte Cristo.
yeah.
I mean, other these things, it's just, it's an idea. It's human. It's just human mind, you know, in different, I don't know, scenes and parameters.
And when you're reading when you're reading these things, it is walking in the mental footsteps of those characters.
Yes.
It's putting you in places that maybe you never thought. Like it's just introducing you to other mental.
And
places.
you get invested in this. It's just like reading this book. You get invested, although it's his first person kind of thing. It's not exactly a novel or a truly objective account, but like
right.
When you read these things, you get into a book. Sometimes you read a book that makes you cry.
Right.
Because you're so invested from the beginning in what this character has gone through, and then these things happen. It puts you in those places. You get to live it without living it, right?
Yeah.
And so
I would just say real quick, I just want to say, when you have the opportunity to read your father's library and you've already kind of gotten a taste of what the subject matter is about, but then when you read the text for yourself,
you go, this is where
you see your father's prejudices and where he's made it more about him, and you go like, oh, that's not,
he got that wrong.
you go like, that's not really what he said here, but like, what made him spin it this way or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You see that equal sign with the slash through it, going, how did this get to? Now I see my father in another way.
It's like seeing it's a much more complex version of, like, you know, the psychologist showed my dad this ink blot and he thought it was a fucking dinosaur eating a baby. And I saw the ink blot and I realized it was butterflies, right? Like,
Yes.
it's one of those things, but on a much deeper.
Yeah, you find out
Yeah, you
what
go, then no
their-
wonder. Of course, my dad thought that was fucked up because
here's
he's all fucked up.
these insecurities and stuff. Like you can
And
see,
it gives you a better appreciation for
it does.
And it also gives you a better appreciation for them because you,
Of course.
you see
That's yeah. So, you know, Mike is starting to realize that he's not stupid,
Yeah.
and he's talented and he's smart.
curious.
He's curious. He's hungry. He's worth a damn, right? Yeah. And Cus is seeing that too. Cus already knew it, but he's seeing that Mike is starting to see it.
Right.
And he's starting to even believe even more that Mike is the one. He is special. And so, Mike is still going to this junior high, but he's still, still 16, hormoned out. He's a fighter. So, sometimes he's fucking popping kids who mouth off and shit like that. So Cus is like pleading with the principal, like, you need to make, this kid's special. You got to make allowances. You can't kick him out of school or whatever. You just have to let him have a little bit more leeway. He's different than other kids, right? And special people shouldn't be in school with. Not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody is the same. Right.
But knowing how everybody is important.
Yeah, you have to know how everybody is.
Yeah. It's the main argument for the public schooling thing.
I think public schooling is incredibly important.
It really is essential.
If for nothing else than socialization and showing you where other people come. I mean, I'm a big believer in public schools. I don't know if I'm going to send my kid to one anymore.
How much people are
but I will for a while.
Also, straight up better than you,
and
or worse
off than you. Yeah.
And even the people worse off than you, they're
don't let it get in the way of learning. Yeah, it is not. It is the bare minimum. It is just. Listen, it is not the end of your education.
Well, fuck it.
It's just socialization.
Your education should never end.
That's right.
Your understanding of what is what as a kid is limited to the point where there's a lot of things that you would be negative about as an adult that you don't even realize you should be negative about as a kid.
Yes,
and you get to know people. You should be put together in
all the different public schools I went to were so very different and different class structures. Like not class, but I mean social class.
Yeah, sure.
And it was the first time I met fucking racist people. And then I met people. I was like, I didn't know people could be this rich.
Yeah.
Or this white or this whatever. Like, and then when I went to college, I was like, oh man, then there's all sorts of shit. It's important to mix it up.
Yeah.
But sometimes, without sacrificing anybody's safety, you have to make allowances for people. That's why they give scholarships to athletes. There's different ways to be smart or gifted,
Sure.
If the football player or the track star or the fucking gymnast,
but saying
they are talented in this way and they should not be held to the same standard. In the same way that, you don't expect the fucking calculus genius to be doing fucking the uneven bar.
Right. But everybody needs to know how to talk to girls.
And boys or non-genders. Yes.
But you know what I'm saying?
You need to be socialized, yes.
That's the main
thing. Be able to talk to anybody.
Whether you are a boxing prodigy or...
Whether you're a king or a lowly street sweeper.
Or, a calculus prodigy.
Yes.
You need to know how to talk to girls.
And even then, that is not going to be, your only way, or it's not even going to be guaranteed that you're going to learn, right?
No.
But yes, you got to mix it up.
Yes.
I'm a big proponent of mixing it up. I like to chop it up, mix it up.
Get out of your comfort zone.
You got to. So anyways, he's pleading with the principal to make concessions for Mike, even though he's somewhat, he's
unique case.
He's pop off, man. Pop off. So he does. But also, Cus was like, listen, if you're gonna keep going to school and you want to do like junior high, teenage stuff, like you still got to train. So like, if there was a school dance, Cus was like, you're running home in your suit. You still got to be home by 11:30.
Damn.
And like everybody knew, like when the clock ticked, Mike was like, I got to go, and they're like, we know, because they knew he was special.
Wow.
And he was, and like in their world, he wasn't supposed to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, especially because he's living in the Catskills, right?
He's living, but
it's also like there's this kid that's living with Cus. Like they know
what the deal is.
Yeah.
Every fight was a step out of hell.
Slattery showing up going,
I got long arms. No, it's Mike. And so he'd make him run home, and he's like, yeah, you got to run the 3 miles home because this is training, right? And this is when like he starts really start falling in love with each other.
Whoa.
Him and Cus?
Him and Cus. I mean, in a father's son
No,
way.
I know
like,
what you mean. Yeah.
Sometimes when Mike would, there was a couple times Mike did some really fucked up stuff, and they get in a fight in school, and like Cus was like, if you keep doing this stuff, you're gonna have to leave here.
Jesus.
And like Mike just lost it and started crying, and
Well, you remember as a kid when you did a thing and you go,
you
I
got threatened with military school.
I didn't realize there were really bad consequences.
Yeah, and it breaks your heart that you might not have your family around.
And then you go, oh,
That's-
fuck, I guess I shouldn't do that stuff.
He said, please don't let me go. I want to stay. He's crying. He's sobbing. And he said, I really loved the family environment Cus had given me, and I was madly in love with Cus. He was the first white guy who not only didn't judge me, but who wanted to beat the shit out of someone if they said anything disrespectful to me. Nobody could reach me like that. Anytime I finished talking to him, I had to go burn energy. I had to go shadow box or do sit-ups. I was so pumped. I'd be running. I'd start running, and then I'd be crying while I was running because I wanted to make him happy and prove that all the good things that he was saying about me was right.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
And then after that time that he threatened sending Mike away was the first time that he started hugging Mike. And he's like, that was the first physical display of affection I'd ever seen from Cus, ever, to anyone. To Camille, to any of the like, it was the first time I ever seen, and he hugged me.
I mean, it sounds like Cus knew.
He said the moment that I cried was when Cus really knew that he had me. From that moment on, I became his slave.
Yikes.
But
yeah, that's not ideal phrasing.
He was, and but it's Mike saying it, and it's not loaded. He's saying it with the context of history.
Yes.
Deep history.
Yeah.
I was happy to be Cus's soldier. It gave me a purpose in life. I liked being the one to complete his mission.
And I mean, it's a thing, man, where you go like, here's this guy, he put all this body of work into all of this shit, and like, I'm the sword.
At the end, I'm the hand.
Yes, I am the one that can fucking execute the excellency of his vision by being, everything he said somebody could be.
Yeah.
It's a tall order, man. It's a very tall order with the guy you're now seeing as a father figure.
And then you're reading all these things, so now you've got the language, or you understand the language that he's speaking when he's talking about you, about being immortal, about being an a titan.
It is very Greek.
It's putting it into this mythological. Yeah. He talks about you being better than the gods, they will never forget you. Yeah. Like these type of things, he's reading Alexander the Great, who conquered the world when he was 16, 21. He now is getting the context that Cus is talking about.
And compared to Ali, that's why Tyson was never like the race fighter. He was beyond that from day one with Cus.
Right.
It's like,
and there wasn't a war that he had.
But also, but it was just straight up like from day one. First of all, Ali had forged that path first.
Yeah.
But
for him, is no Tyson without
for him,
it
was just like, the war is mental. It is not racial. Yeah. It is all.
You're fighting everybody who has ever lived.
You're always fighting yourself.
That's the real fight.
Yeah.
Your shadow self, right? And he, but also, we talk about Cus being paranoid, and maybe we talked about that off mic, but because of Cus's history, he was always worried about Mike leaving him, being the same way that Floyd did.
Yeah.
And Mike was like, if he only knew what was going on in my heart and my mind, he would have no idea that I would never leave him.
No matter how much money.
Nothing could make me leave him. I didn't want it. Like, there's nothing I could. So, and that just puts their kind of relationship into perspective. So now we're back into 1981. They're going to more smokers. Now fucking Tyson's reading Nietzsche.
Wow.
And he's convinced that he is the Ubermensch. Wow. He's convinced he is the Superman. He's knocking out the fucking champions of JOs in 8 minutes.
Right.
He's beating the shit out of people.
He has a gold medal.
He's got a gold medal. He's like 5'9", 190 pounds. He's 16 years old, shredded. Yeah. They're going to these smokers, and people are whispering, "That's Mike Tyson. That's Mike Tyson. Oh my God, that's Mike Tyson."
Right.
And they get up during the weigh-ins, Teddy's like, get on the scale. And they're hearing people around him, and he just strips down into his underwear completely, just fucking banana hammock. And everyone leaves what they're doing and swarms Mike around the scale because he's a Greek god, right? And he was like, it really fed my ego that day. But like everyone was like, it fed into the legend. That's when the legend started. Was then.
Here's Cus D'amato with this guy.
Yeah, and he's 16 and he's fighting a 21-year-old named Ernie Bennett. His last fight before he goes pro, and they wanted to book somebody that they think they could beat. Ernie, that he'd go out as his last amateur. Yeah, it was real seedy. He felt like he was back in in Brownsville.
The fight.
Yeah, it was just like he's 5'9", 190 pounds at 15.
And he already feels better than doing the smokers.
Well, he knows he's starting to understand that there is a legend being crafted here, and I'm feeding into it. And also I'm reading Nietzsche, and maybe Nietzsche's right about the Ubermensch, the Superman, right?
Yeah.
Bennett's trainer, Ernie Bennett, this 21-year-old who's about to go pro, he's deaf mute. And they're like, Mike too heavy. In the audiobook, the guy does a great job of it. He's like, Mike is too heavy, but we'll find him. We'll find anybody. And Mike goes, I'm not just anybody.
What you say?
The fight was 9 minutes of mayhem. In between rounds, the crowd never stopped cheering and yelling.
Really?
From the beginning of the bell, it was just the crowd screaming and yelling.
And doing sign.
And signing middle fingers, white power, West Side, blood, Crip, the OK thing. It was mad fucked up, man. It was really
the person by the ring just couldn't keep up.
Those interpreters that for the government, they've really be fucking selling it lately.
Every guy had the time that said faggot.
That guy said no fag one, and then no retard. This is not cool, man.
The guy had the time that said faggot. You talking about Mike or me?
That guy did a Cool G rap concert the day before, and he's still good.
Mike knocked him through the ropes.
It's always.
But he lost by a decision.
By decision.
And everyone
in an underground smoke lair.
Yeah, he knocked him through the ropes.
That's underground smoke lair for you, John.
Because, and you'll see this a few times, but sometimes some people think that fighting, there's the sweet science to it. It's a points thing. Mm-hmm. Even though Mike knocked him through the ropes, he didn't win by technique.
Right.
And he started fucking crying, bawling. But the deaf trainer come in there and was like, listen, man, you fight it. My guy, he's been through a lot of fights. Time, you're a great fighter. You're a better fighter than my guy. And you're going to be a great champion one day. You should be very proud of yourself. And I mean, dude, this guy does it in the audiobook, and it's really good. And I'm
very nice, because in the Patreon, I'm going to talk about this terrible audio. This guy doesn't even know the names of the hockey player. I appreciate a really good.
He does the deaf mute guy well.
That's very good.
And Tyson comes back with the lift, man. I also sound insane. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, I understand you.
You're a great fan, don't get me wrong. I mean, my man, you punt him through the ropes. He's all fucked up. He's entangled, embroiled in some scandal.
Did you put Drano in your ears?
Yeah, he said, we're fighting you with everything we got. You are better than my fighter. Don't give up. You're going to be champion one day. And it didn't make Mike feel better, and Mike went back, and but Cus didn't go to most of these fights. He would always have second accounts.
At this point in Cus's life, Teddy was
his eyes and ears on the ground. Yeah. But he thought Cus was going to be mad at him because it was like, I heard you did great. Teddy said the guy was cut, experienced, and
uncut.
Take the day off of school tomorrow, type of thing. Like this is part of your journey, is getting either humbled justly or learning that it's corrupt.
Right.
Because I learned that it was corrupt.
Also, the whole day afterward is a whole day of school anyway. What you're going to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some school for you, too.
You got schooled tonight. Yeah. You don't need it tomorrow, right?
And also, you got to, next time you fight someone, you have to beat them so badly.
That there's no doubt.
There's no doubt.
And so, there's more smokers. Cus started going to the smokers now.
Look at all this smoke.
I don't want
Even with my one lung
back in the day, so it reminds me of And so some guys would be like, there was one fight where the guy was like, the trainer of the opponent said to Cus, my boy's job is to put big, strong. I got a big, strong, scary man here, and Cus said, my boy's job is to put big, strong, scary men in their place.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! Don't set him up like that.
15 or 16. One fight, Mike didn't bathe for 3 days just to fuck with the guy. I went in there smelling like I was 8 years old again, just to fuck with him, because Cus told me like the fight is psychological as much as it is physical. Psychological fight with yourself, psychological fight with the other guy, a physical fight with yourself, physical fight with the other guy. So I went in there, I smelled like shit. I made him not want to be around me.
Well, you make the guy think about something else. You're like, the guy's like, I gotta punch this guy. What the fuck is that?
Stinks, right? I was born in the dumpster.
I think therefore I am. That's Descartes.
I bet you thinking, man, this motherfucker was born in the dumpster. I was.
Cus would lose his shit anytime Mike like shook the guy's hand before the fight. Like I told you, the only compassion Cus allowed was after he knocked somebody out, and Mike picked him up and would like kiss him and rub him on the head and stuff, like Jack Dempsey used to do.
And it was also the thing. I mean, you've seen a lot, and I would always be mad when I'd be watching fighting, like just the cruelty before, because I was like, how do you not respect each other?
But
afterwards, it's
total
the
respect.
gushing.
Yeah.
It's the most intimate you can be with another man without having sex with them.
Yes, but also I always knew it was so false to be so hostile in the run up.
It's just to get yourself in the zone.
It's for yourself.
Yes.
Unless you're a true psychopath or unless you're like some styles of fighters where you just buy that bullshit even after the fight.
Right.
But so much of, athletics and especially fighting we'll deal with it after. Right now, you're my enemy.
Yes.
And then after, you're not my enemy. One of us has been vanquished.
You
Right.
have
Unless
to,
I'm, I can't accept the truth.
you have to bring yourself to a place where you can be the best. And for Mike, it was often fear. It was often
I want to eat his heart.
and
I want to eat his children.
Yeah, and what that is, that's fear. That's him going,
The fire.
He's
stoking the fire.
If
right?
I'm not this crazy, do I really want this?
Right.
Or, I mean, that's what it is later in life, but I think at this point in his life, it's, if I lose, I'm done.
Yeah.
And
I'll
the
go
fear.
back to hell. And Cus will hate me, and I'll have disappointed him, and I'll smell again.
And I think that's the difference between picking a guy up after a fight and before a fight saying, I want to eat his kids.
And also, especially if four of the other kids in this house are like the ones that didn't make it.
Yeah.
And you go like, fuck, I could easily be one of them.
Yeah, well, most of them aren't still in the house.
Yeah.
At this point, it's So,
all right, you're a loser. Now you do the dishes.
So now he's not really making money, but he's getting paid for some of these smoker fights. Cus was the one who bought him his first set of gold teeth. And you would think that he's old school and wouldn't be into that kind of hood shit, but like, all the old fighters used to get gold teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like,
get knocked
I
out.
love it. You get the gold. I love it. He loved that fucking old school style shit.
Yeah.
Even though it had been now, it was now like street fashion.
Now, I did he buy him pigeons too?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it would make sense that they're out on 10 acres.
Yeah.
But do you have time? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Then Cus started taking him to a hypnotherapist on Central Park West, and they'd go down to Manhattan, and the guy would put him on the couch, and they'd put Mike in a state, and then Cus would write down the affirmations to have the hypnotherapist read to him. And he would have him read
That's
things
another
like,
level.
Hit the one in the middle.
"You're the world's greatest fighter. This is what you were born to do."
Yeah.
And then he taught them both to be able to get into a state back at home, so they could do hypnotherapy back at home.
Wait,
Him and Cus?
He taught him and Cus.
How to
So you're saying so that sounds like this is a new thing Cus was trying.
Well, I think he had been into the idea of hypnotherapy. Also, this is the 80s, and hypnotherapy is then becoming like a certified profession and stuff like that.
He's an
But
evolutionary
he was
man.
always he was somebody who was extremely open-minded into alternative stuff.
And like, he's into astrology, and he's trying. He's always trying new stuff. New stiff.
I got just new stiff right here.
But he did so in Watch Me Now. He also says everything that has been done has already been done. Mm-hmm. So he's saying like, and so I want a guy who's getting to that news shit. It feels like it's a guy who's saying this isn't new. This is just
But
better
it's
defined.
and it's new to us.
Yeah.
Right.
It's old as the sands of time.
So he'd get Mike into a state. You're relaxing your hand. You're like all this stuff, and so Mike would be in a state and he'd be saying
Keep your
stuff
hands
like,
up.
"Your jab is like a weapon. You throw punches that are ferocious with bad intentions.
Bad intentions.
You've got a wonderful right hand. You haven't really believed it till now, but you will. You are a scourge from God. The world will know your name from now until the eons of oblivion."
It's not wrong.
Just the way he spoke in this, incredibly biblical manner.
Yeah.
Sometimes Cus would wake Mike up in the middle of the night to do it. Just, hey, you ready? All right. Relax. Huh?
Get up, psycho.
Get up. Relax.
Slap him in the face.
And then Mike says that sometimes he would do it. He'd wake him up in the middle of the night, and Cus didn't even have to talk. He would just look at him and do it telepathically.
Jesus
He just knew what Cus
Bro.
was saying. It's so woo, but it's like, I can speak as a man. It's fucking heart-wrenching
Yeah.
to feel that there's that type of connection that you can have.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, the elder male approval figure.
And that's when he says, "Cus was my God."
Yeah.
And it's really, it's so good. So let's do one more break, and then
Yeah.
we'll get to getting into his first true fights.
Okay.
And we're back.
Oh boy. So, we talked about the connection that Mike and Cus have. If you're just joining us, we're learning about the connection that an octogenarian Italian American and a young pubescent African American from the hood might have. All right.
When I watch like old boxing, it always reminds me of how little everybody knew when they say, and his trainer's Cus D'amato.
Yeah.
It's like,
D apostrophe.
none of you have any way of looking this up?
When it's Cus D'amato.
He must be Italian.
Him and these Mario brothers. So, Mike had this feeling that, Cus would also, in the same way that he would die for Cus, Cus would knock the shit out of anybody that ever said anything bad about Mike, right?
Yeah.
One time, a teacher threw a book at Mike at school.
And
Mike got up and slapped the shit out of this teacher in front of all the students.
oh no.
And so then they send him home, and then Cus gets called in, and Cus picks apart the teacher lied about what he did. He said he dropped the book and Mike whatever. And Cus just picked apart everything he was saying.
No, one more thing. One more.
Yeah, he's the Italian guy with the crooked eye and half the eye. I don't eat it too good, but maybe you could tell me because I've been hit in the head too many times. But how could you drop the book and then cause an abrasion on my young?
I'm a big fan. My wife's a big fan.
A big fan of all your social studies. We study social so much. How could you, if you dropped the book, it would cause a bruise on the mic? Mike said, "No, could you answer me that?" So yeah, he picked apart the teacher's argument and humiliated him again, the teacher, because he had been humiliated by Mike's furious
beaten,
thousand hand slap.
In retrospect, point of pride.
Yeah. So, and it was another connection between them because he saw that he'd go to bat for him. But they got to the point where that Mike would leave the school with the proviso that he got a tutor and continued his education, but at home and not in class, because it was just too much of a trek back and forth.
Distraction.
Right.
Also, he's it's like the same as like a popular actor or something.
Yeah, it happens, on-set tutoring. So, Cus was still bummed out about it because he had plans to throw Mike a graduation party.
I'm so disappointed.
It's a big thing, right?
Yeah,
And,
it
if you think Mike Tyson growing up, I don't think he would have ever thought that, one, I'd make it to that age, two, I'd graduate, and then three, that somebody would throw me a party. Right?
Yeah, get out of junior high.
And to get through it without being kicked out.
I think now he's a junior in high school. And that's when he was out. So
16.
16, 17.
82 or something.
Right. And
he's already won the gold medal.
Right. And he won the gold medal in 81. So now this is around 82. And so he's 16. So they're driving home and, You see Cus is bummed out. Mike just says, "Come on, man. I'm ready to go to the gym." And Cus looks at him and goes, "Come on." And so they just go to the gym, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, the thing is, like, I know
That's their love language.
there
right?
is, like, those things, like, I know I missed out on a huge point of American experience and generational experience by not going to college. But doing it the way I did it, or whatever, it's like, I don't regret 1 minute.
No, you shouldn't.
Right.
You shouldn't.
Well, the way you did it was by not going there. You went to Ireland,
Right.
and then you came back and you got a job.
Right.
You got a lot of those same lessons,
Yeah.
but in a much more high stakes environment.
Without the debt.
You can without the debt.
Right. But that's the thing.
You still got if not more, because I don't want to kiss your ass, but you're a lot more educated than a lot of friends that I had that 8 years of college education.
Yes, exactly.
But it's just one of those things where you go, like,
You know one way to not let schooling get in the way of your education? Don't go to school.
It sounds like a Norm Macdonald Weekend Update joke.
in the same way with fucking, like, college and Mike and the way I felt about my mentors at the time. I was like, all of them would be less invested in me learning than this one guy that I'm kind of following.
Right. But I mean, a lot of that idea is built up from people who are told this is how it's supposed to be. And their belief is built on the fact that you're supposed to do this. And
Yeah. But also him like thinking like, oh, Mike needs a graduation party and like all this stuff, like he needs to be accepted by this shit. And then you go like, you know what? I'm a fucking black kid from Brooklyn and I hang out with an old 80-year-old Italian man.
Nothing about this is normal.
And the Catskills, you know what I need? What I want.
Well, I mean, in that sense, I see what Cus was hoping for. He was hoping Mike makes it through this thing so he can give Mike some normality and say, Mike, hey,
Right.
this is some regularity and this is okay.
Yeah.
But also Mike is...
But we're not regular. We're not normal, like it's just one of those things, like it's fine.
Right. But the hope is that you can give him a sense of what normality might be.
Sure. Yes, of course. Yeah.
But they figured that out and they worked around.
Yeah, exactly.
1982 Junior Olympics come around. Mm-hmm. Mike's championship to defend.
Also, Rocky Street did come out that year, man.
Fantastic.
Parents pulled their kids out of the Junior Olympics because of what they feared Mike would do to them.
Which is fair, because having watched Watch Me Now, where they show Mike in the Junior Olympics.
It's not fair.
The semifinal, he sets a record for knocking the guy out. And in the final, the guy he's fighting in the first round.
Are you talking about 82 or 81?
82. When he's.
Are you talking about the final or
the final
with Kelton Brown?
Kelton Brown.
Kelton Brown's a 6'6" white guy.
And had
Big.
gotten through all of his.
Yeah.
The announcers are going, this guy, Kelton Brown, has gone through everybody pretty easily.
And where's he from?
I don't know, Brownsville?
Whitesville.
And before this fight, and this is Watch Me Now, this document, Teddy Atlas is with Mike, and Mike is outside, and he's jumping around. Teddy goes, hey, take it easy. And then
But Mike knows emotion relieves tension.
And Mike, and I think Teddy said take it easy because he saw something, happening with Mike's face, in Mike's eyes, and Mike starts crying.
Yeah, bad.
And Teddy walks over to Mike and he says, hey, it's okay. Hey, take it easy. And Mike, and I don't know the audio of it is very smudged, but it's, Mike's, it sounds like he's going like, you remember when you first saw me and I'm here now? And then Teddy's like, it's okay. And Mike's going, what about the other Mike Tysons?
Damn, bro, that is fucking heartbreaking.
And Teddy goes, it's okay. It's fine.
Damn it.
It's okay. And Mike, there's about 30 seconds of this, and Teddy, they're patting each other. They're doing that thing. They have arms around each other, and they're patting each other on the ribs. And Teddy goes, hey, it's okay. Just relax. And Teddy walks away.
Yeah,
and
then he says, just relax, Mike, and it's just another match. You've done in the gym with better fighters than this one.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Tyson. Everyone likes me. But he's worried everybody won't
Yeah.
because there's a lot of pressure, right?
Sure.
Um,
So then he has to make that happen over the course of his career.
So Teddy walks away, and then Mike, like, you can't see the tears come out of him, and then him and Teddy walk into the building, and Mike starts shadow boxing, and you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy is fucking amazing.
He's gonna demolish this.
He's amazing. And he gets in this ring with Kelton Brown.
And within a minute,
Kelton Brown has no muscle definition at all.
he's just a big, lanky white guy who's got talent.
Yeah.
But within a minute, his corner throws in the towel.
And because Mike says the first 5 seconds, Mike goes up and punches him in the face.
Mike would just charge people,
Within a minute is
within a minute.
Within a minute, they throw in the towel.
Here's the thing: if you're Kelton Brown, it's a minute too long.
15 seconds is a lifetime.
And after it's over, they throw in the towel. After it's over, Mike doesn't know what to do. He's jumping up with Teddy.
Yeah, what do you do?
He falls down on the mat. He's yelling. Teddy's going, hey, take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. Kelton Brown comes over, and Teddy's like, hey, you have a lot of heart. You have a lot of heart being in the ring with this guy. A lot of heart. You're gonna be a good fighter one day. You have a lot of heart.
Atlas. I got the best wrestling name of all time. I'll tell you, I'm Teddy Atlas. You understand? What you do for road maps? That's me.
He just keeps telling him he has a lot of heart. And Mike doesn't know what to do with this energy of just again.
And the commentator asks Mike, right after the win, he goes, Mike, you must be very satisfied with how your career has progressed so far. And Mike's like, well, yeah, I can say yes, I am. I'm here with kids.
I'm here with what?
Kids. And I'll just
He's
do it.
a man.
I'll do it without the
He's a
impression.
man.
I'll do it without
No,
the
do it
impression.
with, please.
But I'm just as old as they are, and I am more on the ball than them. I'm more disciplined. I learned first how to deal with my problems mentally, then physically. That's an advantage I have over them mentally. How did you feel about the end of the bout after defeating Brown? I went in there to do my job. I have nothing bad to say about my opponent. He did a well-fine job. He was just in a little bit over his head. I commend him on his effort. And it's just
Kudos.
yeah.
I'm glad he was here to fight.
Yeah, and he knew what he was doing. But, it's one of those things where, like, if you don't get nervous before going on stage, how much do you really care type of thing?
Yes, absolutely.
You still get a little bit. I mean, you're excited, and the nervous energy then translates to excitement, and then, and then performance. But
you got to give a shit.
But he's also a head case, and it's fighting, and so there's a life or death stakes in every fight. But he went out there and he just did work.
And before the semifinal where he knocks the guy out in 8 seconds. I mean, first off, like the punch he knocks him out with is one of those things that I didn't recognize until I was watching Tyson knockouts, which is it almost doesn't seem like he hits the guy.
Yeah.
He hits him with the punch that is so strong and so fast that it almost seems like it's glancing on the chin.
Yeah.
It's a surgical disassembly.
Yeah.
Yeah, when there's no resistance to it, that's how strong it is. Like, it didn't matter. Like, sometimes you see, but this was just like he went through it like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah. And before that fight, he's on the street. The fight is in like an auditorium, and he's on the sidewalk on some regular street, and Teddy's going, take it easy, take it easy.
He ran down to the store down the corner to burn off.
Don't practice anything. Don't do any shadow boxing.
Yes,
you got a fight coming up. Stop getting your energy out. Because Mike was just constantly trying to.
I think you're talking about Teddy too, but I mean I don't know enough about the Teddy thing. Are we going to get into that?
We are.
Okay.
So, now he's won the JOs twice. He sends he talks to his mom a little bit about his successes that he's having. She's living in she's living squalor. She's also not buying what he's saying. It's kind of a fucked up relationship. And then he gets a call that like, your mom's not doing so hot. You should go see her. And, she's in the hospital. She's dying of cancer.
No.
Yeah, and this is when he says, like, the only thing I ever knew about cancer was, like, my fucking astrological sign. Like,
Right, like Cus probably told me.
Yeah, and I thought it was, like, I thought it was, like, the TV's like, oh, I'm going to pull through, Jimmy. But, like, I went to see my mom as she's dying, and she looked like a skeleton. Her tit was falling out of her hospital gown. And it was embarrassing for him. He didn't know how to deal with it. So he just left.
Yeah.
And then when he talked to his sister, he said, oh, yeah, I just saw mom. She looked good.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
he's a kid.
He's a kid. He's 16 and doesn't know how to deal with this, right? And doesn't want to deal with it. Doesn't have the ability or inclination or anything to deal with, right? And
Emotional maturity.
Yeah. Even though with all the other emotional work that he's gone through, this is something he wasn't prepared for, especially with somebody that he was a mama's boy and now she doesn't really like him and she signed him away. It's very complicated.
Well, I mean, all the shit Cus had been teaching him for was for boxing,
Right.
not for not for your mom is dying of cancer.
Right.
I think you also get like resentful of
Yeah, of course.
being a mama's boy, and therefore it's all.
And you have to deal with it now.
You don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And you don't, but you have to.
Then she passed away, and he said like after that I was back home for that week or whatever. I went on a robbing spree. He started going robbing
So he
houses.
went back.
He went
So
back. He regressed and went fucking robbing houses.
Damn.
Drinking, smoking weed, smoking angel dust.
What?
Yeah. He saw Barkeem again, the guy who took him under his wing, and he was like, "Yo, man, did they call you in? Were there?" He's like, "Yo, go back to the Nice White family. What are you doing here?"
Barkeem told him.
Yeah, like you got a Nice White family. They don't call you. They don't say this. They love you. They feed all that shit. What the fuck are you doing here? Go back there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting among all of these steps that there, even when he's in a place like that, there's still someone going, "You shouldn't be here."
Yeah, clearly you've leveled up. Why are you coming back down?
Yeah.
Right. And that's while Barkeem had on the sly had become like the fucking #1 guy in Brooklyn.
No shit.
Yeah, there was like a power vacuum. People got fucked up, and he took over. One night after partying that week, he was hungover. His sister came over, and she straight up fucking punched him in the face.
Denise.
Nice.
Denise, because she found out that he lied, and their mom had been dead for a few days, and he never told her.
Holy shit.
He never told his sister that their mom died.
Harder to always had to feel to believe it. Now he knows he shouldn't have lied.
Well,
about
why
that
wasn't
shit.
she going and visiting her anyway?
Yo, she didn't live around there anymore. She told him like you should go see mom, and then when she, hey, how was mom? He was like, oh, she looks good.
Yeah.
So she didn't go visit her
Right.
because
I got time. I got other shit I got to do. And he said like it was a fucking pathetic funeral. He said it was a pathetic funeral, cardboard casket, no money for a headstone.
Damn.
And then he found out like a day or two later that Barkeem got killed in like a dispute over territory. So yeah, he almost got sent because he was staying around in Brownsville longer than he was supposed to. He was supposed to go back to Cus right after the funeral, but he stuck around like a few days, a week longer, and like social services got back in touch with him. It's like, yo, you might be sent back upstate.
So you get like warrants and shit. Yeah.
You might get not warrants, but like you're not at your house. You're not your where your guardian is.
Yeah.
You haven't checked in. You might be sent back to juvenile hall because you're still 17, 16.
Right. Yeah.
And he found Cus found him. He found Cus. They made calls and they got back in and moved back in with Cus, and they formally adopted Mike.
Damn.
And
he's like 17.
yeah, he's still, I think he's still 16 here.
Damn.
And Cus and Camille helped him get over his mom's death. They had to fill out some paperwork, and they officially adopted him. And dude, they had this South African guy come over, South African white guy
Yeah.
come over to help train him. This is the 80s.
that's very
Apartheid.
Yeah.
And Cus was like, yo, we've got a black boy here. And if this is my family, if you say anything fucked up, you are gone and your life is over. You have to treat him with respect. You treat him the way you treat me and Camille. This is how you treat him. End of story. And like Mike had never seen anything like that before, And like he would tell Mike over and over, like, listen, we are your family now, okay?
Yeah.
I'm your dad. This Camille is your mother. We are a family. And he would tell Camille, look at your black son, Camille. Don't you love him? Don't you love your black son? Isn't he great? Isn't he an Adonis?
Isn't it just like Paul?
What do you think about that? You got a nice, in a million years, you ever think you have a black son that could beat the shit out of adults?
You ever think his pelvis is like a piston? The way it thrusts into you, Camille.
It was just,
You're sick.
Well, no, it's supposed to stay square. It's
Sure. I'm not a machinist.
and he said,
I'm a simple boxing trainer.
I don't know you. Your world frightens and confuses me.
he said, you're a family now, and you're our boy now, and you're going to bring a lot of pride to this family, pride and glory.
Wow.
Damn, bro.
Camille kissed him all the time on the face and the cheek, and it seems really beautiful, right?
Yeah.
He says like a month later, I fucked it up, and this is when now Teddy Atlas was having some money troubles, and he was really pushing Cus to make Mike go like pro.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because then he could get his cut of his purses for training him, because right now he's an amateur and there's no real purses. There's nothing to speak of really. And maybe that's an unfair assessment of Teddy, but who knows? But it's reasonable to think, right? Mm-hmm. And so Teddy had had in-laws and sister-in-laws, and Mike's 16, 17, and I guess they were partying with like his sister-in-law, who was Teddy's.
Okay.
Who was like 12 or 13. It was a bunch of young kids hanging out.
A family picnic type thing.
And Mike, like, they were playing grab ass, and Mike like literally grabbed her ass. And he was like, I was dumb, and I was fucking 16, and I grabbed her ass while we were playing around. It was really stupid. And I just did it. I fucked up.
Right.
And then like, one day Teddy told him to show up to the gym, and it was just Teddy there. And Teddy like pulled a gun on him, put it to Mike's head. And Mike was like, this is not the first time I've had a gun to my head.
Yeah.
But it was like the first time I got fired. And like he fired it right by Mike's ear up in the air to the ceiling. It was like, I'll fucking kill you, this type of shit. And he was like, and then Teddy ran, because I don't know if you remember, this gym was above a police station. So Teddy got kicked, Cus kicked Teddy out. Teddy gets replaced by Kevin Rooney, who was there, as the kind of number 2 trainer or number 3 trainer. And they were all, Kevin, like you've said the riot act on Kevin. And Kevin and Teddy were friends. And so maybe a better trainer for Mike.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kevin was the guy who didn't have Teddy's talent, who believed in the peekaboo system. Teddy could knock people out just boxing.
Oh, for real?
And Kevin was not a good fighter, but he believed in the system enough to become a good fighter.
Right.
And so eventually Kevin became the guy who was the guy who knew the peekaboo system, who was the trainer,
Peekaboo evangelist.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's so interesting. It is very chess.
And so in a way, he was better. Teddy was a good trainer, and Cus loved Teddy, but maybe.
But Kevin was kind of a more devout student.
Perhaps
of the Cus.
Perhaps, yeah.
The peekaboo philosophy.
And so, I don't think things actually changed much for Mike. I mean, he knew Kevin because Kevin was part of that group even before that. Because he was a boxer. Kevin was a boxer who was also boxing when Mike was there.
Yeah.
And then he just became a trainer.
Yeah.
So, he's part of the family too.
So now Teddy's gone. Kevin's trainer. Cus is still there. And now he's still 16. And he's fighting a 27-year-old. And this is when he has his first loss. It's in a tournament. His first loss in a tournament. He's fighting this 27-year-old guy. It's Al Evans.
Al Evans.
Al Evans, that guy that beat Tyson. Mike's he charged at him like he always did. He slipped, fell, and the guy was a good fighter too, but he slipped, and the ref he called it. And Tyson didn't take it too well. But Cus, told them that, read about all these champions in these books. They all have that loss. It's an important experience for you. And the ones you read about are the ones that lost and kept going.
Yeah.
You don't read about the ones that lost and quit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he chalked this up to part of that Mike Tyson hero's journey for him. Then he fought Craig Payne for the National Golden Gloves.
Craig Payne?
Payne.
Doesn't matter.
So, I mean, listen, by the way, in between that and Craig Payne, he won 6 fights in a row. All knockouts. All knockouts. He fought Craig Payne for the National Golden Gloves, which is like the premier amateur boxing championship. It went the distance. He lost by decision. He got robbed. You can watch the fight on YouTube. He got robbed. The crowd starts booing when they call
oh shit.
You look at Mike, you look at the guy, you watch the fight. He got robbed.
And these are amateur fights.
They are
so these don't count on the record.
Right.
Yeah, you can watch the fight on YouTube. It should have been Mike.
It's Kid Dynamite every time, man.
Then Mike won the 83 and 84 gold medals at they're called like the CONCACAF under 19 tournament. It's like the FIFA
Right.
So it's like all
type of thing.
the Americas.
Yeah. Then he won the 84 golden gloves. So now he's training for the Olympics proper. So 84, he's 18, right? 18.
When was he born?
He's 66.
Yeah, okay.
And they're training for the Olympics, like straight up the 84 Olympics in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, I know it.
And, the newspaper.
Apple is doing the 1984 ad.
That's right.
Right?
Movies are coming out.
Oh, I love movies.
And then so the Sports Illustrated or one of the people are interviewing Cus. And
The kid's out of his mind.
Cus goes on a rant. He's like, all my life I've been thinking in terms of developing a fighter who's perfect. To me, a person can accomplish this. I recognize the quality of a future champion because he's always able to rise to the level and exceed his sparring partners. Taught him movements like in the karate so the body would make adjustments during a fight, even if your opponent doesn't make it necessary. He can strike a blow with lightning speed to complete surprise of his opponents. He had tremendous speed, coordination, and intuitive sense of timing, which usually comes after 10 years of fighting, because in the old days, they used to box every single day. I don't start teaching until I find out if they're receptive. I do a great deal of talking to find out what a person he is. For example, we are today a sum total of every act and every deed. So in Mike's case, we talk and I try to find out how many layers I have to peel off of him of experience, detrimental and otherwise, until I get down to the man himself and then expose that so that not only I see, but that he can see. The progress begins from that point on more rapidly. When you, dude, he just went on this rant, just like telling exactly what is.
Yeah.
And then the interviewer asks him, when you peel away the layers on Mike Tyson, what did you find? And Cus took a beat and he goes, I found what I thought I'd find. A person of basically good character, capable of doing things that are necessary to be done in order to be a great fighter or champion of the world. When I recognized this, then my next job was to make him aware of these qualities because unless he knew them as well as I did, it wouldn't help him very much. The ability to apply discipline, the ability to do what needs to be done no matter how he feels inside, in my opinion, is the definition of a true professional. I think that Mike is rapidly approaching this status, that important point, which I consider Mike Tyson must do in order to become the greatest fighter in the world. And for all we know, barring unforeseen incidents, and if this continues without any interruptions, and if we get sparring and everything else that goes with it, he may go down in history as one of the greatest we've ever had, if not the greatest we ever had. And Mike Tyson's there. And he's listening to this, and he's just like, this was like the happiest moment of my life.
No way.
Yeah. And there's more in that interview, and it's also Mike feeling the pressure. It's lovely. It's incredible for him to hear this and validating, but it's also like, you better fucking bring it, right?
I mean, Cus is sitting there going, I am a fucking genius.
And also part of my mind fuck is this speech.
And my
because I'm laying on adulation and I'm also telling you better perform.
Right.
He knocks out Henry Tillman through the ropes.
I mean, his name is Henry Tillman. I mean, come on.
But he lost in decision in the qualifiers to Henry Tillman. The crowd again knows it's bullshit.
Again.
He fought Tillman again in the Olympic box offs because these were like the qualifiers.
Yeah.
He fights Tillman again. And Tyson fought better in the second fight against Tillman. Howard Cosell is calling the fight and he goes, that Tyson should win this.
That Tyson
Mike
will
Tyson.
win.
I'll tell you something.
Loses by decision again.
I
Crowd
don't
boos
believe this decision.
And so Cosell is not a judge. He's just
He's just the color commentary. Cus starts losing it. Cus is having a conniption. He's throwing punches at U.S. boxing officials. Kevin has to start grabbing him to hold him back because for Cus, this is also again the boxing establishment is corrupt.
Yes.
You know, he's paranoid about all the things that have been done dirty to him.
It has been corrupt for so long that even Cus D'amato can't even fight it anymore.
It's so corrupt it built MMA.
Yeah.
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 Which then was susceptible to its own corruption. But
Which is stupid.
But that is
dumb way.
the exact thing where like a lot of people would always be watching that, second heyday that you were talking about, Aaron, of, Lennox Lewis, Holyfield, all that stuff. There was still always some decision where everybody that watched the fight was going like, bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And the judges are not people that ever fought themselves. They're academics. So it's Cus and the crew get Mike tickets to the Olympics as a consolation. He scalped them. But he did get his cherry popped by one of the Olympic Committee interns, a very cute girl.
Oh, very nice.
That all the other guys had the hots for, but she liked Mike, so he popped his cherry, so it wasn't a total loss.
Wow.
First time he had ever had sex.
Holy shit.
He went back to New York, hung out in the city for a while. He's in Times Square. He goes to see a karate movie on 42nd Street, smokes a joint, starts getting paranoid.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
He goes home. He finds out that they knew he had weed, and they found it in his room. Cus is really disappointed. Cus gives him this fucking diatribe like, "This must be good stuff, Mike. I know this must be good stuff because you let down 400 years of slaves and peasants to smoke it."
Jesus Christ. Everything is ruined. All you know is
It must be good stuff, kid, because you mind if I have some?
I got the glaucoma and the cataract.
If it's worth betraying your race,
it must be good for my glaucomas.
Now, one more thing. You ruined your race?
So again, this is one of those. Like after that, I threw myself in harder than ever before in the training. It worked for him. That some people,
Ra's al Ghul.
people respond to different types of motivation. I'm motivated by shame. If you're my coach and you shame me,
I am too.
like,
I understand.
You want your mother to see you play for me? Like, I will do better that way. And so, he was a master of knowing what was going to work for Mike.
Sure.
Mike said he made me feel like an Uncle Tom, and I hated that. And and so he just I threw it in harder than ever.
A white guy making you feel like an Uncle Tom.
He started talking to himself in the third person like he was Cus. He wouldn't lose a fight for the next 6 years.
Really?
He had signed this bogus management contract because now he's making waves as an amateur.
Yeah.
He makes Cus buy him a Cadillac, even though he doesn't have a license and can't drive. So anytime he would get like really fucking pissed off or freaked out, he'd go in the garage, sit in the Cadillac, and listen to music.
Oh my God. Cus, you gotta buy me a Cadillac, okay?
Cus, do you hear the music coming out of this?
So he got the Cadillac. He's doing that.
Huey Lewis?
He starts building up his fight repertoire to get ready. To be the guy, right? So now
Fuck some shit up.
what?
To work his way up to the heavyweight.
Yeah, that's right. So he's going pro now, right? He signs that management contract, but it's like 30% goes to the guy, and then like he splits the other. It's fucked up.
But what?
But Cus is there, and like all the final decisions have to go through Cus after that. So like he's got a safety net.
Yeah.
Is that Cus is there looking out for him?
Wait, can I also? How tall is he? He's like 5.
Mike?
Yeah.
Now he's probably 5'10" and about 200 pounds, or maybe 205.
5'10".
I'm 6'2", 205 pounds.
In the doc, when he was 16, they said 5'10", 210. And
that's
honestly,
because he would cut weight. He would wear those vinyl suits and sweated a lot of it out.
As someone who's barely 5'10" and sometimes 165, I think sometimes I'm like, man,
You got to look at
I
Mike.
look like shit.
You got to look at him.
And
when he's
then
a
you
kid.
see this, and you're like, 210?
His neck was 100 pounds.
Yeah.
210?
It's absolutely
His
human pit bull.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what I. Oh,
The
and
legs.
This is a compliment. This is not anything
legs.
derogatory that I'm saying. Is I when I see Mike as a young man fighting, I think of a pit bull, compact, fast.
No, it's not derogatory whatsoever. I mean,
It could be seen as that way, but it's not my intention.
no, but the inherent strength.
And the real pit bulls are tiny,
Yes,
but they're ferocious in fashion.
but and also it's just this anchor of power.
Yeah.
In like a chest, neck, shoulder.
No, for me, it's not. For me, it's the fucking quads.
He's got big. Yeah, he did have big.
Yeah.
That muscle that wraps around your knee.
Yeah,
When you
Yeah.
see him turning with that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was.
His twist on a punch was
Yeah.
severe. He was punching with his
and,
legs.
and he was also a master of just avoiding and ducking
Yes.
and bobbing and weaving. He was so mobile. If you haven't seen Mike Tyson as a young man fighting, go watch those old films because he's lightning quick. And for a guy who's 200 plus pounds, it's
Yeah.
not Floyd Mayweather who's a $145.
And you notice in the way he's fighting, punch, he's ducking, and
Yeah.
he's slipping. He's ducking as he's making that second jab. He's ducking and slipping.
And
It's built in.
It was
it's built in.
a new level of discipline and strategy to just be like, hey, just because you're a boxer doesn't mean you need to get hit.
I mean, Floyd Mayweather is the best at that.
Yeah.
He doesn't get hit.
It was one of those things where you're like,
Stop getting hit.
stop getting hit.
That's how you lose.
Yeah. It makes you dumb, and then you get hit. Worse.
But also the idea
Stop.
of the counter punch that is approaching. The counter punch is approaching. The counter punch is not backing away from the other fighter.
Yeah.
The counter punch is approaching the man who's going to punch them.
Right. It's like a pair. It's like fencing. Is
Yes, very like fencing.
so I've heard. So he fights Hector Mercedes, his first round knockout. Trent Singleton knockout. Dan Halpin knockout. Ricardo Spain knockout. John Anderson knockout. Larry Sims turns lefty and knocks him out. Cus didn't like that because it was showing off.
But also because of the style of the peekaboo,
He could easily go southpaw.
It was built for ambidextrous type of fighting.
Lorenzo Canetti, 1 round knockout. Michael Johnson lodges 2 front teeth in his mouthpiece. Knockout.
Yikes.
Routinely knocks mouthpieces out. This time lodged 2 front teeth in them.
Yeah.
Mike is the hottest thing in town. Knockout artist. Now he's got to meet the press because he's now a contender, right? He's got to go with this management contract. He's got to do press. He's got to go make appearances. He's hanging out with David Bowie, Mikhail.
What's up, y'all?
He goes to a restaurant because he knows the owner. He's taken there. At this point, he's a bit of a trophy for some people, right? Oh, well, say I've got the hottest fighter in town here. So he's at the table with the restaurant owner in New York. Bowie's there. Mikhail Baryshnikov, fucking 10-year-old Drew Barrymore.
Get the fuck out
Yeah, she's fucking dropping back gin and tonics, probably.
Oh my God.
De Niro and Pesci show up, join them at the table.
Oh,
And they're like, Mike,
it's heat.
we got to get out of here. Check this out. So they go to Liza Minnelli's house.
Of course.
De Niro and Pesci.
Yeah.
With Tyson.
With Liza Minnelli and none other than Raul Julia.
And meanwhile, Mike Tyson has no idea what
Raul
the fuck is
Julia.
going. Mike Tyson has no idea what the fuck is going on right now.
But he's like, oh man, he knows all these people.
Sure.
He knows it's big, and he had a lot of
and
respect
they
for
all go,
Raul
look
Julia.
at this guy. He's the great fighter.
I mean, hey, this guy's fucking Gomez Adams and M. Bison, so not exactly a lightweight. M. Bison, pretty good fighter himself.
I could have been a contender. I am a contender.
yeah, what was Brando doing?
So he's he's spending time in Manhattan, not in the Catskills, because it's in between these fights. He's had, fucking 8 fights in a row.
Right.
He fights fucking Marvis Holmes, right? Larry Holmes' kid?
Yeah.
Or is it fuck, I forget the
Brother
guy.
or something?
It's I forget whose kid he
cousin?
fights, but he knocks him out too. He fucks him up pretty bad. But he's hanging out late night in Manhattan, coming home late, eating Chinese food at night. Cus is like, you're getting fat, you're getting lazy. Don't fuck this up.
You're a bum.
You're a bum, right?
You're a bum, kid.
His next fight would be one of his first real tests. This guy Donnie Long, they called him the Master of Disaster.
Long Don?
No, Donnie Long, Master of Disaster.
Oh.
Mike knocked him out in a minute and a half. He's doing Sports Illustrated, the Kid Dynamite cover with the,
Pretty sick.
he's attracting groupies, but he's still not having sex. still just that one time with the intern, he was just still awkward and shy and didn't know what to say or anything like that. But you are not a one. When you're hyper focused on one thing, to your detriment, you're not getting that socialization anymore, right?
Right.
It's that thing I said of the fucking when they took Bobby Fischer out to the strip club, and then when he leaves, he goes, "What about Rook to G4?"
Yeah.
And they're
I was thinking. I'm sorry. The titties are nice, but I was just thinking, what if Kings?
he's talking about just the next move from the game from before they got to the strip club.
I saw the rose.
That's one of those moments you got to give that person drugs.
Yeah.
You got to give that person Molly so they stop thinking about it. And they're just like, oh, dude, titties.
Yeah, but also, like, you can't really hate it, too.
Fucking body glitter smells good.
Because, like, when you are Mike Tyson in that thing, I mean, how much are you going to contribute to a conversation
But
with...
the thing is, Mike's not Bobby Fischer.
No.
But also,
Mike is not solely one-minded. He's just not socialized that way. He is obsessive about fighting, but he did like going out and hanging out and partying, having fun and letting loose. Bobby Fischer was crazy.
Yes. But so at the same time, though, Mike being the guy who will go all the way for something.
Same way with partying.
And Cus's thing is, Cus says things like, the fighter who's not thinking about fighting is going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
And so Mike in his head is thinking, even if in a moment where he's reminded that he's not thinking about fighting, immediately in that moment, he goes, I need to be thinking about fighting right now.
Yeah.
No,
and then he switches.
I think that's what I'm saying about the Bobby Fischer angle is he was going like, you know what? I can hang in these circles, but also before I can really hang in them, I would sit back and listen for a long time, the same way I did with getting into boxing. Yeah. And
we're still good on memory and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Cus tells this story. He says he tells this story. He goes, "There's this great heavyweight fighter, and he hung his jacket up, and on his jacket he put a slip, and he said, this is the jacket of the greatest heavyweight fighter in the world." And Cus said, and so that way no one knew to touch it. And then when the guy came back, all he found was there was no jacket, but there was a slip that said, this is the slip from the fastest runner in the world.
that's dope.
And it's like, if you're not constantly there, someone's going to. And so, you can imagine Mike, like, he's having all this fun.
But there might be a faster guy.
Right.
One night he's fighting the undercard at Madison Square Garden. His opponent straight up didn't show up.
Jesus Christ.
That's not a good sign.
It's just not going to happen. I'm too afraid of what's going to... Reputation... So he left the garden and was like, well, fuck, what am I going to do? I'll go back down to 42nd. Maybe I'll try and get laid. So he goes down to this fucking place. Remember when he was a kid? That's like a, House of ill repute.
Used to be a shithole.
And he, he gets this nice Cuban lady, prostitute, but nothing. They just, and like, they're doing it, but her back goes out and they
just, God.
Well, he's really, saying it. He's a fucking fighter, right? And so they end up just talking.
Oh, that's nice.
They just talking, and everything was fine.
I broke my back too.
Yeah, one day I will break my back. How? Spinal.
Spinal, I guess.
His next fight after that was with Robert Calais. It was over with 2 left hooks. One missed, one didn't. Over in 37 seconds. Next one, Sterling Benjamin. The ref stopped the fight in 54 seconds.
Jesus.
54 seconds. The ref.
It's over. Those 2 fights, Cus had stayed home because he had been sick. Mm-hmm. And he was really old and always kind of sick and coughing and stuff. But it was the day after that fight, Cus was admitted to Mount Sinai in the city.
Damn.
And they're like, you should probably go see Cus. So Mike goes down there and he seemed like Cus was fine. He was eating ice cream. He was Cus, And they're told that he doesn't have a lot of time left because he's got pneumonia, and to his detriment, he was mad into the alternative shit and like kind of turned down some of the maybe more traditional.
Bring the witch doctor in here.
Yeah,
what are you doing here? You should be jumping rope. Give me the shaman.
And by that I mean the shaman toilet paper. I'm shitting myself. Mike sees him and he's holding his hand and he's telling him, I don't want to do this shit without you. I don't want to do it.
Damn, that's a bitch.
And Cus tells him, well, if you don't fight, you'll realize that people can come back from the grave because I am going to haunt you for the rest of your life.
Jesus Christ.
The world has to see you, Mike. You're going to be a champion of the world, the greatest out there. And this was the first time he ever saw Cus cry.
Oh, God.
And he said, Mike, just do me one favor. Take care of Camille.
Wow.
And he realized that he wasn't crying about Mike. He was crying about Camille. And Cus died the next day. Damn. He had his funeral. Boxing luminaries. Norman Mailer.
Yeah.
And, Jim Jacobs said in his speech pretty much the kind of the one thing that sums it up. Cus D'amato was violently opposed to ignorance and corruption in boxing. While Cus was unyielding to his enemies, he was understanding, compassionate, and incredibly tolerant with his friends. And Mike kind of shut down after that emotionally for a while. He had a fight after that. He had a fight with Eddie Richardson like a day or two later. He fucked him up bad.
Yeah.
He punched him like into the air. And he like flew like in the air to the other side of the ring. He hit him with a leaping left, and because he was so tall, he wound up coming down on the other side of the ring. Next guy was Conroy Nelson, who had lost to Trevor Berbick years earlier. He was still ranked number 2 in Canada.
Conroy Nelson sounds like a country singer.
Big guy, big Adonis body. The announcer said this was the guy that would finally test him. The ref had to stop the fight. Mike was beating the shit out of him too bad.
Jesus.
He fought Mark Young. A minute in, he hits him with an uppercut. He falls down. I mean, at this point, he's plowing through all of the highest ranked heavyweights.
And his emotions.
Ray Mancini says Mike needs a real challenge now. Boom, boom, Mancini.
Boom Boom Mancini.
I mean, hurry on.
Warren Zevon wrote a song about it.
Boom Boom Mancini's fighting Bobby Chacon. And now Boom Boom Mancini is saying Mike Tyson's need a real fucking challenge. 2 weeks later, he fights Dave Jaco, who had 14 knockouts and a TKO on Razor Ruddock. They stopped the fight after the third knockdown in the first round.
Didn't Mike also knock down Razor Ruddock?
I don't... Oh, he might have, but I think that's later. That's before
Okay.
He goes home, he sees Camille. Damn. Does an interview with, he talks about Camille like it's just not the same without Cus there. I don't know why I don't know who there's nobody there to tell me how bad I did.
And that's
in the fights.
There's nobody there to tell me that I'm being lazy.
Yeah.
My hands aren't high enough.
There's no one there to bring the ceiling up. I keep trying.
Yeah. She says, "How did you make out?" I made out good, but I was looking for somebody who wasn't there. Yeah. And she starts crying, and Cus wasn't there. Everybody tells me I'm doing good, but nobody tells me if I do bad. Doesn't matter how good I would have done. Cus would have seen something that I did wrong.
Yeah.
And then he does his Sports Illustrated interview. He talks about, I miss Cus terribly. All the things we worked on, they're starting to come out so well, but when it comes down to it, who really cares? I like doing my job, but I'm not happy being victorious. I fight my heart out, give my best, but when it's over, there's no Cus to tell me how I did. No mother to show my clippings to.
The point of fighting wasn't to beat people. The point of fighting was to make Cus proud.
Yeah. So he after like 6 more knockouts, he fights Marvis Frazier, Joe Frazier's son. That's the one I was getting at. Bad. Beats him bad. Then there's a couple more fights, and then he's there to fight Trevor Berbick. And this is for the WBC Heavyweight Championship. Mm-hmm. Mike Tyson is barely 20 years old. Trevor Berbick has laid motherfuckers out. Trevor Berbick went 15 with Larry Holmes. Trevor Berbick beat Ali, and then Ali retired.
Wow.
After he lost to Holmes.
Yeah. Okay. Goes on the talk show circuit, on the press, because that's what's expected of him. He goes on David
Mike.
Yes, Mike.
Goes
on the David Brenner show.
90s moment where it's,
And this is, I think this is 80. It's still 80s still, but it's very
Like
it's,
where that
it's
talk
getting
show
to that
shit.
talk show.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
the circuit.
Yeah.
David Brenner's got a talk show. What?
Right.
On that episode is also Jake LaMotta.
Oh, fuck. Really?
And this is before Jake LaMotta's like mad senile, so he's still kind of,
And it's post Raging Bull.
Yo, yeah.
well, of course, yes. But Jake is not fucked up yet, so he gives Mike some advice about stay away from the garbage. He's what do you mean? He's like, people like us, we attract garbage. So when you're gonna be, this is Jake LaMotta says, this is the next heavyweight champion of the world. And you also stay away from the garbage.
That's good advice, Jake LaMotta.
Because Jake got, Jake ended up fucking like shaking hands outside of casinos and shit when he was all fucked up. Like, so he knows what happens to guys like him, right?
Like my grandfather knew fucking Jerry Cooney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Who is that?
It was
Another boxer?
Another boxer fighting around that time. And, and it's one of those things where like your name is Jerry Cooney. Irish guys are like, hey, you're and it's like, but you go like, well, he's not gonna be anything if you know him.
Right. Right. How do you, bus driver, know Jerry Cooney?
You're a fucking doorman. You know him?
Yeah.
He's talking to you?
Yeah. He was the other doorman.
He knows John's friend.
Not that like I mean Mike Tyson also would Mike Tyson would talk to anybody. It's not as if these guys feel like they're better. But it is one of those things where you go like, yeah, you guys, you always had this fucking you don't understand like until like you grew up in New York, like there was the great white hope was always a thing everybody was waiting to come.
Yeah.
And they would talk about like, oh well, Jerry Cooney, and you go like, Cooney?
Jerry Cooney?
You're like, yeah, like I think
Problematic.
I think Tyson knocked him out without looking at him. This isn't even a discussion. Shut up.
So he's in between Marvis, Frazier, and Trevor Berg. There's a couple other guys.
Sure.
I forgot to mention that. There's a Ferguson guy where in the press he says like I wish I could have knocked his nose into his skull.
That was a Cus thing where it's like you
if you get the nose bone up there, it's bad news. They don't let you get up right away.
Right.
The reporters kind of laugh at that, and you guys are going like this. He's like, I didn't think I said anything wrong. Cus and I all used to talk about the science of hurting people. I wanted to be a cantankerous, malevolent champion, like Cus wanted me to be. I used to watch these comic book characters and read about them, like the X-Men, and one of my favorites, Apocalypse. Apocalypse would say, I'm not malevolent, I just am. I love that so much.
Yeah.
I mean, and he gets more in the next, part of this. We'll get into more of all this stuff, but he really loved Apocalypse, and comics, and he had a relationship with Stan Lee and stuff. But
no fucking way.
I mean, you punch with bad intentions. That's like the basic.
Make everything he knows to be true a lie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just oh god, it's so good. So it's now he's done the press. It's the night before the Berbick fight, which is the biggest fight of his life, right? He's a knockout artist.
And this is the fight that if he wins this, he becomes
the WBC champion, heavyweight, and he's 20, fighting adult men. He's been fighting for 6-7 years, right? Mm-hmm. The night before the fight, he looked at his pee-pee, and he's got a little bit of a discharge.
Yeah?
no.
So he got the clap.
No.
And so he gets a shot in his ass from the Dr. Henderson or whatever. Got a shot of antibiotics. And he's like, all right, I don't know where I got it. I don't think it was the Olympic or a little while ago. Maybe it was this prostitute. I mean, I don't know. He doesn't really know. Probably from
Who's to say? Yeah, you think?
Or maybe it was stress. Maybe he had a prostate, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. He had fucking whatever. But then this is also like Ali. When Ali lost that fight against Holmes, I took some medication. I was tired, right?
yes.
Well, yeah, but it's not like Ali.
It's not like that, but
because
it is.
Ali was also he was ankle deep into what would be the mental condition that would
Right, and ankle deep into his late 30s.
yeah.
He goes, he's there he's at the arena. They're playing Toto. I think they're for fucking Rosanna or fucking Africa or some
It was
shit.
a hot time for Toto.
But all in his head, all he hears is Phil Collins in the air tonight.
Yeah.
And he goes, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. He's like talking about it. And that's the song that they play for him in The Hangover.
Yeah.
Which is so funny, so perfect. He goes out to the crowd. And at this time, by this point, he wanted to emulate a lot of these old school boxers. And so he goes out with the short black shorts, no sock look with the boots on, because the Spartan look of all his heroes, right?
Yeah.
So he's just menacing as fuck. He goes out there in the crowd. There's Eddie Murphy, Kirk Douglas, Sly Stallone. Ali's there. Ali gets introduced to the crowd
Whoa.
in the ring. Ali whispers in Mike's ear, kick his ass for me.
What?
Fuck. That's amazing.
10 seconds into the second round, Tyson hits him with a hard right. Berbick goes down. Berbick gets back up.
10 seconds is a what round?
In a second.
Second.
Damn.
Berbick goes down. Springs back up. Tough fighter. A little flurry of punches, a shot to the temple. Delayed reaction. Berbick goes down again. Tries to get up. His ankle's fucked up. Falls face first flat into the canvas. Mike Tyson is 20 years old, and he is the heavyweight champion of the boxing world.
Jesus Christ.
And that's where we're going to end this part of the profile.
God
That is
damn
a
it.
hot ticket, baby.
It's pretty good stuff.
Aaron, that's really excellent.
Everything Cus told him up until this point came true.
Yeah.
Trevor Berbick.
20.
Trevor Berbick.
Crazy.
Trevor Berbick, heavyweight, not exactly a lightweight. In fact, a heavyweight.
I feel like if like you go on YouTube and you watch the Tyson knockouts, Trevor Berbick is like 2.
Yeah.
He's at the beginning of all of those videos.
For sure.
He
Yeah.
went an unprecedented amount of not only undefeated, but initial knockout, technical knockout, which, getting knocked out 3 times in a round or stopping the fight. One fight was ruled a disqualification because the guy kept holding him, but then that was changed to a TKO because the guy was going down anyways. And that would have fucked up Tyson's record at that point, so they changed it back. But I think he went 19 straight wins.
Not even counting the amateur
It's
shit.
19 straight knockouts.
The amateur shit where it's just like
Then just
he's
the
just chopping
fighting
through
boys.
guys. Oh man.
He's electric. He was electric, and we hadn't seen anything like that in a very, very long time.
And I mean, he's kind of the reason why we don't like. He was
Is there anybody that's going to do better than that?
no. These you bring the Klitschko brothers. Who,
Yeah.
The only thing the Klitschko brothers could do
Is
to
fight
save
each other.
boxing is fight
And
each
even
other.
then, they're 100.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're incredibly boring.
Go make a vaccine. Your doctors leave. There's nothing they could do. They should have fought 10 years ago. Now they're in their Mike Tyson ended the heavyweight division.
Heavyweight boxing
Pretty much,
should
yeah.
not be a bunch of 6'5" guys fighting each other. It should be a bunch of 5'10" guys weighing 210 pounds.
It
fighting
was
each other.
really one of those things where you go like, is there anybody that could possibly stand against this guy?
And the answer is him.
not.
It's only him.
It was just crazy.
Yeah.
But we'll get into more of all that later, Aaron. This has been an incredible introduction
I love
to
I hope
a.
you liked it a lot.
I love
I
it so
really,
much.
really love it. It's,
I just want you to like what I do,
it's something you
John.
could fucking, you can just trip out on forever.
I do, and I just want it. I want everybody to get how much I like him and why, even though he's got a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
Yes.
And understand the mythos that comes with who he is, and I think that baggage only adds to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It adds to that, and I hope you guys like it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this is maybe my favorite profile ever.
Oh my god,
I mean,
It's really, really great stuff.
I think I got a jith charge.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like he's been through so much that he doesn't even, like know what to remember at any time. And that's what you can see come out of him now. Except he's always learning very, very pivotal life lessons.
Humbled.
Yes, to this day, he's always
Yeah.
figuring stuff out and trying to.
Right.
And
And
that's like,
we're gonna try and skip over the stuff that everybody knows about. We'll mention it and show that how it adds to his character at large. But we want to focus on some of the stuff that you may not know about, and the stuff. I mean,
yeah.
the
The post stuff, yeah. Like you were saying about like the Nixon shit. It was like trying to do the pre and
the story of the rise of a fighter is incredible. But you know what's even crazier? After the guy doesn't fight anymore,
absolutely,
and he's a hero, but doesn't do it anymore. Like this, just goes
the insights he has, and that was the same thing that I think about Tyson. That I think about Nixon is his political analysis as
he's a unique perspective.
Yes, and it's strategic, but it's also like I guess moral, empathetic, whatever. Like I'm sure Tyson is watching fighters all day long where he goes like, I would have fucking ate him for breakfast if he was up against me. But also I can see these are his strengths. This is what he does. This is what he can do. This is what that person does well. This is like their style or whatever. He can look at it impartially. And it's an extremely interesting perspective to be able to access, So I can't wait to pick it up again. I think you did a brilliant job.
Thank you.
And I am
Also, call me a bum, so I do good on the next one.
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
You're a bum rock.
You tomato can.
Chase the chickens.
You son of a.
I'm going to say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
Good night. I'm Aaron Pita.
Rousseau.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Starburns Audio.